Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast. This is episode number 60 for Wednesday, January 30th, 2019. I am Pixel Dan Erdley, and I'm once again joined by Jonathan Leonard. And
That's me.
And Jaron McCaffrey.
That's him.
Thanks, John.
What's going on, guys?
It's Royal Rumble Day.
It is Royal Rumble Day. We are recording this the day of the WWE Royal Rumble.
It's a very special episode.
Yes, very special. Well, we always, we brought this up before, but for big shows like Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, we always get together for an all-day wrestle-a-thon leading up to the show. And this time we thought it'd be really fun to stick our recording of our podcast in the middle of it. That way we can kind of geek out about some of the nerd topics we want to talk about, but we're actually going to record a chunk of this before we watch the Rumble. And then we're going to watch the Rumble and come back and talk about the Rumble. So you guys won't notice because we're going to seamlessly edit this together with like magicians.
Oh, absolutely.
But we will be discussing the Royal Rumble after we watch it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Spare no expense on the editing crew.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So we've got a couple other topics that we did want to discuss today. And I figured we should just go ahead and jump right in with the big news that broke directly after we recorded the last episode, because while we outsmarted Marvel this time and were able to talk about the new Spider-Man trailer literally hours after we were finished recording, the major news broke that Ghostbusters 3 is going to be a reality. This time being
theoretically.
Theoretically. This time being a sequel to the original movies from the 80s. So that's kind of big, and that kind of blew up huge on the internet, and everybody was talking about it, of course, right after we were done talking. So figured we needed to bring it up on this show so we can address it, especially since like more than half of the questions directed at us this time were all asking us what we thought about the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we always ask for questions on the Facebook page, and we got a ton of responses, but 99% of the responses we got were asking questions about things that were already going to be topics. So we will be answering your questions today. We'll just be doing it as a main part of the show. So just general shout out to everyone who answered. Who asked.
I think that just means that they're on the same wavelength. Exactly. We're on the same wavelength.
We're
as
syncing
them.
with the audience.
Yeah, that's good. Yep. That's good stuff. So let's go over a bit of the news here real quick about this. So the news report says this film is expected to be a direct continuation of the original Ghostbusters films and will be directed and co-written by Jason Reitman, the son of the original franchise director Ivan Reitman. Jason Reitman goes on to say, I've always thought of myself as the first Ghostbusters fan when I was a 6-year-old visiting the set. I wanted to make a movie for all the other fans. This is the next chapter in the original franchise. It's not a reboot. What happened in the 80s happened in the 80s, and this is set in present day. So the crazy thing about this whole thing is that this has been a total secret until they dropped the news. Yeah. And they dropped the news with a little teaser trailer, which was basically just like a shot of like a creepy barn, and you can see proton streams in the background, and then like you see like the back of the Ecto-1 kind of run down.
And it is the firm definition of teaser all the way, because there's nothing. And I mean, this is a movie that I don't even think has been written yet fully. So obviously, any footage they haven't cast the thing.
They haven't, yeah.
It's a real weird story and a real weird turnaround time, because they're announcing this. Again, definitely without a cast, I think even without a full script, and they're announcing it in January of one year for a date in July of the next year. That's quick turnaround for a movie like this, to have to do all of that work going into it. The whole thing just seems just a little weird.
It is super weird.
Yeah.
So the news as of yesterday is that Sony Pictures has officially set the release date as July 10th, 2020. And the thing that's crazy about this is that casting is still underway. So they haven't even cast everybody yet, which means they haven't even begun filming, obviously. And all this has to happen so fast so that this movie is released next summer.
Yeah.
Which is so totally bonkers to me.
And the first question always comes up is like, what about the original crew, the original cast, the ones that are surviving? You know, what is their involvement? And I haven't seen anything but speculation as far as how that even goes. I assume they wouldn't do anything without, Dan Aykroyd's blessing, at the very least. And especially being that it's Jason Reitman who's the one doing it. I can't imagine that they don't have some sort of involvement from the people who were involved originally. But that doesn't mean anybody's going to show up on camera. That just means at least at the very least those guys went, yeah, okay, go ahead and make it. If this is all going down the way they say it is, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out right now. I'm not calling this. I don't think this is what the news is by any means, so I'm not gonna take credit for it if it turns out this way. But I will not be even remotely surprised if this entire thing turns out to be a Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, that would be the worst.
Yeah,
that would be the worst.
Again, like I said, I'm not calling that, so I'll be.
We've already had a lot of totally ridiculous fan rage with the Ghostbusters franchise.
As per usual.
That is going to just infuriate people even more if that turns out. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I kind of hope that's it.
You kind of hope so?
All the
Jared's hoping for the chaos.
Well, the controversy on this has been so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That, I think that almost like they deserve that. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Like you guys are getting so mad. Maybe everybody mad. That's throwing their little fits about all this, or that threw their fits about the last one being an all-girl cast, or the straight up disgusting racist stuff that was sent to Leslie Jones.
Yeah,
to then tease them with this and not give them that. That's what everybody deserves. Maybe they'll take a little bit away from that and be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't get all up in arms over nonsense.
Trust me, they won't. Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a breaking point at some point, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it comes from Ghostbusters. But yeah, who knows? Every little bit helps, I guess. So,
well, going off of that, so we kind of talked about we don't know the involvement of the original cast, and that's kind of been stated in all of these news articles so far. Like this one in particular says. Plot details are very thin on the project, and details on the involvement of the original Ghostbusters, like Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Sigourney Weaver, remain to be seen. So nothing's been confirmed yet if any of them are involved. And the other thing that's really interesting about this is that, according to the Hollywood Reporter, so this is still all everything is speculation right now, okay? Very, very rumor heavy with all this. But they're saying that the main cast that they're casting for, and I've actually seen this quoted in several articles now, that they're casting a young main cast, and that they're looking for this new quartet to be teenagers, 2 boys and 2 girls. So if that turns out to be true, as soon as this Ghostbusters 3 news broke, I immediately saw memes popping up all over the internet that were pretty gross, because it was things like, never send a woman to do a man's job, and I was seeing all kinds of stuff like that. So if this all turns out to be, well, it's 2 girls and 2 boys anyway, what do you guys, I don't know, man. I feel like it's so weird, and everybody's reactions have been so strange to the whole thing.
The 2 boys, 2 girls doesn't surprise me. The young skewing doesn't surprise me. The teenage aspect surprises me. Yeah. It's like a high school Ghostbusters movie seems like a weird way to pick the franchise back up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be good or bad, but that's not what I would have expected. I would have expected a young crew to come in.
Yeah, I would. Ghostbusters Extreme, dude.
Oh man,
remember that show?
I would rather see them make a movie out of the Ghostbusters with the monkey that used to ride around in the old
Filmation Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Maybe that's what this is.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Oh my god, totally.
We're all just really confused.
I'd be excited. That was always my favorite, man. Yeah. I always preferred that to the cartoon form.
Really? There's a lot of craziness going on with this whole thing. Like it is exciting to think that we might be getting more Ghostbusters, because I am a fan of the franchise. I like the Ghostbusters movies. Mm-hmm. I would love to see an awesome new Ghostbusters movie. It's just I don't know. The whole thing is strange. Yeah. The whole thing is weird.
I've liked all 3 Ghostbusters movies a ton. I would have preferred to see a follow-up to the 2016 one.
Mm-hmm. I loved that one. Yeah, I was a huge fan.
Great. Yeah, I loved it. Now, there's no version of the story where I get that. Right. So, I'm not upset that they're going back to the well with the old movies, because it's not like they're scrapping plans for a sequel to the 2016 one anyway. Yeah. It's either I get this or I get nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. But I don't want to take anything away from that. last movie because we say we made a point of it on the show. We were big fans of that movie.
Yeah, when we reviewed it, I think the only thing that I was kind of like, and this wasn't even like a huge complaint, but I wish that it was like, instead of a reboot, I wish it existed within the same universe, because I always felt like it could work. Like, you could do that. You can have a new cast of Ghostbusters and not pretend like all the other stuff didn't exist.
Yeah, for sure.
But otherwise, I still had fun with that movie. Like, so I don't know. I know the opinions are very strong. I super don't care.
Well, I'll be excited to see something like this. All of the news snippets are going in the right direction as far as like. I mean, I think it's really cool that they got Jason Reitman involved in this. I think that's really neat to see kind of the heritage pass along. If the 2016 one had never existed, I'd probably be falling out of my shoes excited about this news. But all of the surrounding hubbub has just turned every Ghostbusters bit of news just weird.
Yeah.
Because of all that stuff. So
and maybe that's what normally, and I think we talked recently. Normally, I'm kind of a fan of the like, I support reboots and remakes and whatever that idea. I'm usually behind that. This is one where for some reason I'm just not, and maybe it's because of all the drama, all the stuff, all the overreactions, and like really, it's
the drama definitely makes it all weird. Like,
just remember, not all Ghostbusters fans are bad people. It just turns out that for some reason, all bad people are Ghostbusters fans.
No.
Well, it just seems like such a weird one to because I even remember the first Ghostbusters was great. But I remember there's kind of mixed feelings about the second one, right? Nobody likes the second one.
That's a thing. Still.
A
lot of people still don't like the second one.
So to go back,
I enjoy the second one.
I didn't like it when I was a kid, but I went back when I was a teenager and absolutely loved that movie.
Yeah, I like them both. I think they're both great. But like, to think about it, like, this is where we're nailing, nailing down our roots and staking our flags. Like,
that's what I mean.
these two movies. Okay, guys.
One of which isn't even like you didn't like.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. This isn't even like with comics. There's years and years and legacy. Deep. Lore. I don't know what I'm trying to think of a word that I can't.
There's just a lot more history in a comic book realm.
This is
so
like we're talking
over a costume change or anything else. It makes a little bit more sense that you're that attached to something that is that deep.
Yeah, or to even push forward and remake. Like in both senses. Okay. Like, because there's only the two movies, and it's not like there was a huge. I mean, I'm sure they're hugely successful in big marketing and toys and cartoons and stuff, but like. Also the Extreme Ghostbusters and the Filmation Ghostbusters, and like this is the one we just have to have again. We just remade it, nobody liked it, so this is the one we have to have again. Like, you know what I mean? I just it seems weird to me. Like, maybe we should just make some new paranormal investigators that don't have to be compared to the Ghostbusters directly, and everybody can shut up about it.
Then you're not cashing in that logo, though.
I guess, man.
I will say, from that aspect, I'm glad that there is. Sometimes I see projects that just fail miserably, and I go, that with a little bit of difference to it or a little bit of tweaking, I think that could have been really good, and they could have taken that to the moon.
Right.
The Universal monsters.
Yep.
The idea of building that into a whole universe, I
thought
was super cool.
And
I really like that Tom Cruise Mummy movie, but I don't know how you guys feel.
I haven't seen it yet.
I dug it a lot, but I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. Anyways, that's a whole different point. I would love to get into that at some point, but I don't want to get off track too much here. But that came out, and I think it made money, and it was received overseas, and it made some money and whatever else. But everybody considers it a huge box office failure because it didn't make a ton in the U.S. It didn't do Tom Cruise numbers, and it was supposed to kick off this franchise that I haven't heard anything about since. And I don't know that they're going to. And so when I see something like that, and I go, okay, well, like, you got off on the wrong foot because you had a bad plan, but you had a good idea.
Right.
So you don't have to bury that idea for a decade. You can just try again.
Yeah.
And so the idea that this is sort of what happened here, I mean, again, I don't agree from a review standpoint with it, but from a money standpoint, they didn't make what they wanted to make.
Yeah.
But they had an idea of what they kind of wanted to do. They wanted to tap into a franchise. I'm glad that they're willing to go, okay, that one didn't work the way we wanted it to, but we don't have to wait forever to try again. We can just do something different.
Right.
And see, and on that level, I hope it works also, so that more people are willing to kind of take that spin around. Now, that is sort of the reverse of, like, you know, we had 2 entirely different Spider-Man franchises telling the exact same story over a 9-year period. So, like, some of that, you know, obviously it's not going to work every time.
Yeah.
But you kind of hope there's a little bit of success on that side, too, because you don't want to see every idea that doesn't work out turn into something that nobody can ever touch again just because it didn't work the first time. So, again, that's neither here nor there because we don't know how this is going to end up being. But I'm glad that they're at least willing to go, okay, well, we tried and it didn't work, but a couple years later, we'll just try again. Also, I can't believe that's going to... I mean, by the time this movie comes out, that'll be a 4-year difference. That's mind-boggling to me. Because that feels like yesterday.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot still to learn on this. And obviously, this is going to be something fun to track, really, on the show here. Because it's going to have such a fast turnaround. I'm just really curious to see where it goes. But I don't know, like my philosophy with all this stuff, and I always say it a million times, because it's always so weird to me when I know we get passionate about the things that we love, but it's so weird to me when people get so angry to the point that they're attacking people, especially people involved in projects. Because I don't know, I don't think that way. Like, I can't bring myself to act like that.
I mean, you're taking something you love. Let's just say Ghostbusters here, and when you get so visceral about anything that isn't exactly in the cookie cutter of what you think it should be going forward, you're turning something that you love because you theoretically get joy out of it, and you're turning it into something that is just making you miserable.
That's exactly.
Every turn. And I don't understand, like, and that's not Sony killing Ghostbusters for you. That's you killing Ghostbusters for you. I don't know why people do that to themselves. And I get passionate about some of these things too. There are definitely movies come out where I go, oh man, I wish they wouldn't have done this or that, or I wish they wouldn't have made this change. Like, I get there, but I don't get so, like, red-faced flummoxed, you know, that I'm breaking my keyboard trying to type hate messages on it or anything like that. Like, I don't get, like, dragging it that far down. Just turn around and go find something you do like. Go just watch the original one again and calm down.
Yeah, you know, like I don't believe in my childhood being killed or ruined. I just don't believe in that phrase. And, you know, my whole thing, my philosophy always is, you know, spend your time building up the things you love instead of wasting your time tearing down the things you hate. I just feel like, you know, you'll be less stressed and you'll be a lot more happy, and there's just no reason for it, you know? There's no reason for that. But I don't know. Anyway, we can move on from that topic now.
That's the other thing I hate about right now is you can't bring up Ghostbusters without getting on a soapbox.
I know, and I hate it too. And like, it's kind of like Star Wars right now. There's no way to talk about Ghostbusters or Star Wars without somebody being mad at you and calling you names.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's so weird. It's a weird time to be a fan of a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we spent all these years like hoping to find people that we can connect with on all this stuff, and now we're in this day and age where you can't even talk about it without somebody completely disagreeing with you and therefore hating your guts and calling you names, and it's the craziest thing ever. It's so weird to me. All right, off the soapbox. Let's move on to the next topic. We'll send it over to Jonathan because we're getting into a pretty important season for you.
Exciting time of my year. It is Oscar season. It's funny. It's a season that I absolutely love, even though I don't buy into 90% of it. We've got a list of 7 Best Picture nominees. I wanted this year to be a year where I had seen some of these movies coming into Oscar season. The last few years, I've tried to sort of avoid things because we live near AMC theaters that do the Best Picture showcase leading up to the Oscars. So I was kind of going into those cold, not having ever seen any of the movies. So I could kind of, and I've sort of decided over the last year or so that that's probably a bad way to do it, because a lot of these movies are, you know, if they're really that good, they're ones I kind of want to see twice. I want to be able to dissect a little bit more. And so I thought this year going in, well, I'm going to try to get to some more of these things that might be nominated. But really,
the problem is that some of the Best Picture nominees are awful to sit through. So you don't want to go into that weekend knowing I got to go sit through First Man and 3 Billboards from Nowhere again.
I like 3 Billboards a lot.
I didn't see either one of those. Okay. They were just the first ones that popped in my mind. I don't know.
Examples.
I also know that I didn't say the Three Billboards name right. It's not nowhere it actually has a name right.
Three Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Something. Yeah, I was just.
I believe.
I was just throwing some movies out there.
But well, the other problem you get into is that like a lot of times when you get to Oscar season, the movies themselves don't actually open in wide release until like January 15th, and then the nominations come out on January 20 something or whatever. So you don't have time. But this is a case where. I've only seen 1 out of the 7 so far, so I may try to catch a couple of them before the showcase, or I may just go. Well, I guess I think there's 8. There's 8 actually this year. I got confused because AMC has decided not to include Roma in their Best Picture showcase this year because they're in one of those. Corporate peeing contests, for lack of a better term, with Netflix.
Oh no!
And that's sort of what brings the whole topic into my normal scope of things. Is Netflix has a Best Picture nominee this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not we talked about a couple of times on the show like that Chris Pine the Outlaw King movie and stuff like that, which we knew wasn't in that realm, but we kind of wondered if that's sort of what they're going for, like this award season's push. And Alfonso Cuarón has given them exactly that. I think this movie debuted in December at some point. I think it was on everybody's list for probable nominees, but it did end up making it. It's a movie called Roma. I haven't watched it yet. I will be definitely watching that one soon because I won't be able to see it at the theater anyway, and I can just sit down on my couch and watch it with a touch of a button.
Yeah.
I barely even know what it's about. I know it's a foreign language film. I believe it's just basically following a Mexican family. I want to say in the 80s or 90s. I think it's a period piece of some sort. But now, what they do, I have no idea. I don't know if it's just a day in the life.
Is it weird that like 80s and 90s is period pieces now?
Yeah,
so
super weird. Yep.
Yep. You said period piece, I think, Victorian London or maybe,
Well, I mean, you remember
Revolution era America.
We had 50s period pieces when we were kids. And,
I guess.
And the people who are our age now
thought it was weird.
Same gap, Yeah.
So weird.
As far as the topic on the show goes, I don't have a ton to say because I haven't seen a lot of these movies, but I thought I'd give a rundown of some of the big categories and who was nominated and just kind of get the information out there. And then in the coming weeks, obviously, I think we'll do 2 more shows between now and the Oscars, or the post-Oscars when they play. And so we'll be able to get into a little bit more of what I think about some of the movies. But for now, let me just go through, we'll go through the 2 acting categories. The best actor and best actress. We'll avoid the supporting right now, and then I'll go through the best pictures, if I can say the right words.
Okay.
My apologies, guys.
Please.
Okay, so for actor in a leading role, we've got Christian Bale in Vice. That's where he's playing Dick Cheney.
Yep.
And Batman.
Cool.
Yep. We've got Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born, which he also directed, and that's like the 3rd or 4th time I think this movie's been made.
At least.
Yeah, but I mean, this one was very well received. It's another one that one came out later into last year. So there's been a lot of people who have actually gone out and seen that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very well reviewed, made decent money all the way around. Willem Dafoe in a movie called At Eternity's Gate, which I had never
Green Goblin.
And for the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
I think that's who he plays in it.
Yeah.
I had never even heard of that one when the nomination
Well, some of
came.
these take a long time to come around.
We got,
is that a write-in?
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
Yeah, if that's how it worked. We've got Rami Malek, if I'm saying that right. That's the guy from Mr. Robot.
Oh, yeah,
USA show. He's playing...
I thought you had to be in a movie to get...
Well, he's playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, okay.
And you've got Viggo Mortensen in Green Book, which is another one I've heard nothing but great things about. Actress in a leading role, we've got Yalitza Aparicio.
Awesome that we live in a time where white men could get Best Directing Actor or Best Actor for movies about...
Mahershala's nominated for supporting actor.
For supporting actor, yeah.
So, that all goes by screen time.
I
which
mean,
sometimes
I
they still get wrong.
And thus is my point.
Yeah.
And thus is my point.
For the this is going to come off as an argument. And I don't mean it as one.
Yeah.
But when I learned about some of the screen time rules as far as that goes, was when Denzel Washington got nominated for Training Day, because part of the talk around then was the fact that he technically probably was in the supporting role in that movie, but he got nominated for actor.
Oh, so since they did it for him, it's cool. Okay, so this is like a back and forth trade. Got it.
Yes, that's
Got
the
it.
argument I'm making right now.
Okay, all right.
I'm glad you were talking over me right there because I'm pretty sure I just butchered that poor woman's name. But the actress in Roma was nominated for Best Actress.
He's not even going to try again.
Nope.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can hit rewind and try to listen and see if you can hear me missay it. Glenn Close in The Wife. Olivia Colman in The Favorite. Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, which is just fun to read in a Best Actress. Lady Gaga. And Melissa McCarthy in Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Ghostbusters 2016.
And in Ghostbusters 2016.
Let's bring that back. And Gilmore Girls.
This
She got nominated for all those all at once.
Yeah. This section is just going off the rails.
We gotta keep your list interesting. Like you're like, for my section, I just want to read a list to the people. Okay, thanks. Well, me and Dan will spice it up.
This is the news. All right.
We're a podcast, not a news outlet. I'm just saying. And I'm not trying to stop you. I'm just saying somebody's got to liven it up a little bit.
Well, now I'm embarrassed. And I don't know if I want to read the rest of my list.
I want to hear them.
Well, no, you can't. You can't stop now, John.
I want to hear them.
All right, now Best Picture
Don't let
nominees.
the trolls get to you.
Don't feed the trolls,
that's what we want, John. we just want to see how mad we can make you.
I'll wait. Are you guys finished?
No, but go ahead.
I have an important question.
Yes.
Did Arnold Schwarzenegger get nominated for Junior?
Okay.
I would like to thank Daddy DeVito.
And my baby.
I wish I had a headset I could throw in disgust. But the microphones are like attached to the desk or whatever this is.
I apologize. Please continue.
All right, Best Picture nominees: Vice, which is the Dick Cheney movie from Anna McKay; A Star Is Born; Roma; Green Book; The Favorite; Bohemian Rhapsody, which is weird because I always kept hearing that Rami Malek was really good in that movie, and then that movie was not very good at all, and then it nailed a bunch of nominations and wins throughout award season here. Black Klansman from Spike Lee, and then the actual like big news, I would say, bigger than the Netflix thing in my opinion. We have a Marvel movie nominated for Best Picture.
What?
This year finally, Black Panther.
Oh, heck yeah.
Landed that nod.
Win.
Yeah.
There's
like,
no way it'll win.
I'm sure it doesn't have a chance, but the fact that it's finally up there in the discussion feels like big news to me.
Well, that was the reason, though. The year, because wasn't it the year that they expanded to 10? They put a bunch of like one of the Batman movies was in there, wasn't it? And maybe one of the Pirates.
There was a lot of argument that The Dark Knight should have been nominated and wasn't.
Okay.
And then after that, because some would say because of that is why they expanded it to where they could have up to 10.
And that first year, there were some in there that were Black Panther-esque, right? Was there not?
No, like they never like Toy Story 3 got one, which was a little bit unprecedented. Not a lot of animated films have, and then like Inception. So like they gave one to Christopher Nolan the next time he made one. There have definitely been some like swaying in that direction, but never just like a flat out summer movie superhero.
Okay, maybe not. I thought I remembered that. So I thought I kind of remembered it going the route of that first year they were like, oh, we're expanding this so we can recognize some of the ones that people actually went to see, and then like the very next year. What they were just back to like, well, here's the other 5 art house pictures that nobody went to see that we wanted to nominate. You know what I mean?
And I will say, like, there was definitely like a feeling of like they set that out as a mantra, and it felt like they believed it for a year or two. Yeah, none of them were, like I said, like Marvel caliber or like superhero movies. They weren't like the big box office draws or anything like that. But they were definitely movies that made more money. And were more widely seen and stuff like that. But then, like you said, it just fell right back into. Well, we are the Academy. So really cool to see this. Now, I don't know if this is a one-time phenomenon and it's the only one we'll ever see there, or War.
Black Panther can't be ignored, man.
No joke.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the biggest money-making Marvel movie until Infinity War, right?
I think.
Or is it still?
Well, no, Infinity War definitely made more. I don't know if some of the I think some of the Avengers made more, but like as far as
didn't it have like best opening weekend or something like that? I thought it broke some records.
I will have to go back and check. It definitely, but like it broke some February records, destroyed a bunch of February records. I know for sure. And it had a lot of acclaims like that. I just don't specifically remember which ones in there. I still don't think it made more than like the first Avengers, but I might be wrong about that. And then Infinity War made more than any of them. I'm 99% positive now that we're talking about it. I'm even starting to question that because I don't have those numbers in front of me. But yeah, like the cinematic impact, the cultural impact, the fact that people were talking about that movie so much, which has happened many times over the years, and a lot of times it's movies that happen earlier in the year or into the summer, and everybody goes, man, this is super well received, critics all love it, like this might actually make that push, and then Oscar nominations come around and just ghost, nothing anywhere. But this one actually landed it. I was a little surprised it didn't really get any kind of like acting nominations or anything like that. I half expected that to be the throwaway. Like, well, we're not going to give it Best Picture, but we'll give someone some sort of credit. Right. But it forewent all of that and just got the big one instead. So it'll be interesting.
Should have some sort of nod to Michael B. Jordan, dude, because Killmonger is amazing in that
Could
movie.
have easily. And I think it's funny, too, that, there's finally a Marvel movie. I don't even think it was the best Marvel movie of the year because that's the year Infinity War came out. And Infinity War still got completely ignored. But hey,
schnubbed.
Whatever. We got something in there. I'm
happy
about
this wins.
it.
Wakanda forever.
So more Oscar news to come that won't just be lists.
I hope they hand him an Oscar that's doing this. I hope when he wins,
they give him a special
That's kind of
Wakanda Oscar.
Yeah, Wakanda forever.
I also think it's funny that the Oscars are February 24th, so they're in under a month now, and they don't even have a host still since the whole Kevin Hart thing.
Oh, because
ridiculous. I'm sorry,
drama everywhere.
I need to be a sourpuss for a moment here because I'm
in that mood today.
I'm kind of in that mood today.
Yeah.
But this is the grumpiest I've ever seen you on like a room. Like even when I walked in, I went, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, I have no explanation. But I'm super over award shows. Tired of watching millionaires celebrate each other for being millionaires.
Yeah.
I'm just not even like I was a few years ago. I love the Oscars. I come to your Oscar party and I don't know what happened. I'm over it this year.
I always have to make the argument every year because I love awards season, but not like I don't give any credence whatsoever to the Academy Awards. Right. They don't mean anything. Because it's a publicity. It's a popularity thing more than anything.
Yeah.
The way these awards are voted on in the first place is all jacked up, and then the fact that when you get to the point where the nominations are there and you're ready for it's whoever schmoozes the best. It's whoever gives the biggest gift box away when they send the screeners out. They'll send screeners to the people who they know are Academy voters, and they'll be in a box with $20,000 worth of gifts. And they'll be like, also our movie, watch our movie, and then maybe vote for it. Like watching some of the smaller categories, you can tell that the people who are voting don't actually watch any of these movies because stuff will win that makes no sense. So it's not actually about like who wins the awards for me. It's just the fact that for a little over a month every year, we just celebrate movies in general.
Yeah.
And it gives me the excuse to go and watch some of these that I would never watch half of these for entertainment purposes because I'm too busy right now. When I was younger and presumably when I'm older, I'll be in that swing again. But right now, go down that list of 8 movies. There's 6 of them I would never sit down for if they weren't nominated. But since they are, I'll go to the festival. I'll watch them. I'll go out of my way to see some of the acting ones because I think the acting ones mean a lot more than like some of the picture ones and stuff like that because it's fun to watch people really expressing their craft.
Right.
And you catch a lot of up-and-comers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Well, the picture, like Best Picture is always tough because who runs up there? The producer. So like, congratulations, you're really good at hiring people. But,
sitting in an office and throwing money at things. So like I said, I like the pomp and circumstance. The awards themselves don't mean anything.
Yeah.
I usually enjoy watching the ceremony because there's a lot of clips. There's a lot of the jokes about Hollywood from Hollywood people, all that sort of things. Like, I enjoy it, but really it's just the fact that like I enjoy Oscar month way more than I enjoy the Oscars themselves. Yeah. And even though I like watching the ceremony, I don't think any of those people have a clue what movies are really like.
Right.
That's just how they go.
And they're all in the business, and they all have friends, and how many of them are just voting for their friends or actually watching their, you know what I mean? Like, on top of your point of sending out the huge gift boxes and stuff like that, And I think, I think letting myself become unjaded to that. I know that's a weird thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, letting myself become jaded to that, is just kind of like, I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
although I like everything you're saying.
Yeah,
I do.
And to your point, it's nothing I can ever argue. Anytime somebody's like, "That's stupid," I hate it. I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. It is." And if you want to hate it, that's fine too. So I dig this time of year.
It's a cool time of year.
I love lists so much.
Yeah.
There's so many lists right now.
When is the Oscars?
February 24th.
Okay.
And if you live near an AMC theater, the Best Picture showcases will be the 16th and the 23rd. It's always the Saturday before, and then the week before that. Some locations run a 24-hour marathon, which is funny because I think there's only like 18 hours with a movie this year or something like that. So I don't know if they're going to put giant breaks in between or what they're going to do.
They'll just show Infinity War.
Yeah, and I know other chains run similar ways to see the new movie or the nominees as well, because I know several of them are not showing Roma for whatever reasons their PR people have came up with. Because they don't like.
Also, they won't let you buy a small drink and a small popcorn together. So.
Oh, but I'm the sour. No, I'm the grumpy one. Why we got to bring up old stuff, Danny?
So there we go.
Netflix doesn't care what I eat.
No, I don't.
What sizes I have.
I'm so. That's a fact. That's a fact. But I'm too upset at you guys about the list thing, so I don't even want to do a segue. Jaron, just start talking.
Okay, all right.
Danny goes first, right?
Well, we're gonna go ahead and.
We've already done Danny's.
Yeah.
Was Danny's Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my bad.
That's all right. Well, we're gonna shift the show now to our big wrestling. Because
if you hate wrestling, hit stop.
Sorry, guys. The rest of the show is all wrestling. So the thing we did watch right before we started recording was NXT Takeover.
That's why I'm grumpy.
And that probably is why you're grumpy.
It sure didn't help. Didn't help.
Actually, I was about to say I came in halfway through that show, so that might be why you were grumpy when I got here.
Because it was hot garbage.
Yeah, and that's like, okay, so I legitimately love the Takeover events, and I've always been pretty darn impressed with them, and they're always a great high to like coast right into the big WWE pay-per-view that's the next night.
Yep.
And even we talked about on this show, we reviewed the Takeover that happened right before Survivor Series,
right? And
we really enjoyed it for the most part. I did not feel that way about this one.
No,
I did
not. It was not good. I give a quick rundown of the matches.
Okay.
Spoilers incoming. Nothing was good enough that I'm particularly interested in like who won or lost beyond giving my quick thoughts on it.
Okay.
But if it comes to that, just warning you guys, we're going to talk about the matches. We may or may not say who won, so spoilers. Just assume there's spoilers if you want to go back and watch it.
For the rest of this podcast, actually.
Yeah. All right, so we started with the War Raiders against the Tag Team Championship match. War Raiders against the Undisputed Era, and the match was fine. The crowd was way into this match, and you and I kind of talked about it. Just seemed like they were excited to be watching a takeover.
Yes, that's the way it felt because the match itself was fine. I don't want to take away from it, but it wasn't anything like. I don't feel like anything that happened in this match deserved the sheer amount of NXT, this is awesome, just keep fighting chants that people kept giving it.
Yep.
Like, and that's the note that I made while we were watching it, is I do feel like it's one of those things where because they were excited to see a takeover because this was in Phoenix.
Yes.
You know, NXT usually runs out of Full Sail down in Florida, and that's where it always is. The only time they really do these other shows is when they travel for the takeover events. So I kind of feel like this crowd was just really amped up and ready to see NXT, which is why they were so just over the top for this match. Because it was a fine match, but whenever like you get those "this is awesome" chants or the NXT chants or the chants for the Fed that they're watching, and it doesn't feel like it's a big enough moment for those chants to happen, it makes it totally diminishes the meaning of those chants, right? And like you've talked about a lot, like the "this is awesome" chant has totally lost all meaning this day
it doesn't
and
mean
age
anything. They just do
because
it.
it just happens all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you can hear it in a mid-card match on Raw, it doesn't count anymore.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I always feel like sometimes the crowd's involvement can help boost a match or break a match, because sometimes like a crowd will be totally dead for a match and it kind of makes you feel the same way, or sometimes the crowd's way overhyped and it kind of gets you hyped up. This one, it just confused me the whole way through because I was watching the match and I was like, well, this is a fine match.
Yeah.
Why are these people so excited about it? Because I just didn't feel that excitement with it.
Yep.
And then I think we realized as the show goes on that they just blew all their steam in this first match because
this crowd peters
this
out.
crowd totally dies off after this first match.
Yep.
It's so weird.
Yeah. So, and I've seen the War Raiders. They're fine. I haven't seen a whole lot from them. They've been really protecting the War Raiders, and they kind of crush people.
Yeah.
They were in the War Games match.
Yeah.
They were fine in that, but there was a
billion people.
Yeah,
in that
10
match.
dudes in that.
Yeah.
I'll be, and I'll just forewarn you. I'll sound like Old Man Grump. Segment.
I think we all will today.
We probably will.
Maybe for different reasons, maybe not. I don't know. Like those guys did seem fine. That's the first time I've ever seen them work. I don't like it when guys that big get that acrobatic. That doesn't impress me.
Right.
And I think it's because like working, the circuits we've worked, I've seen too many guys who are that size who can do that stuff. Like I'm not impressed by the fact that you can do it.
Yeah.
And to me, it kills every littler guy. Like that's their thing in front of a crowd. The fact that they can do the acrobatic stuff. So when you're 300 pounds and you start doing that, you look awkward and you kill everyone else trying to come up, under you. So
I get that.
I'm just not a fan of that style.
Well, and
well, that's a problem with speaking as a big guy. When you can do something like that, you feel really awesome, and so you want to do it. And you don't always take a look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like how is this? Do I really look? Do I look as good as I feel? Does it add to the match that I do this thing? Does it add to me that I do this thing? You just are like, well, I can do it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, and I can say like, I mean, I've it's been a long time, but I've practiced some more acrobatic things. But I think I've done one moonsault in one match ever against you. I think
you used to do that springboard.
I used to do the springboard one.
The Smith swings.
So I say like when you do, but like if you break out a special thing because you can do it and you want to show people, like, I get that idea. But when your entire shtick is look at how big I am and I can still do this.
Yes, there's
like
ways. There's ways to use that. Right, and Hanson just is like a high flyer that weighs 300 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
A slow, unimpressive high flyer.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and even when we talked about the NXT Takeover right before Survivor Series, like I kind of noted at that one of my biggest nitpicks with that style of wrestling is the all the falsies, all the kickouts with all the finishers. Where like every match feels like it has 5 should have been go homes. And they just keep going. So that is rampant throughout this entire show.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait for one particular match to grump on that. That's another one
and that's a total style thing. Some people that's like you called it the Ring of Honor style.
Yeah.
And that's like I know that there's a whole fan base for that, and that's cool. Like there should be different types of wrestling for different crowds.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Can't that be in Ring of Honor?
not on WWE.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's why WWE's got their different shows though. Like they're like NXT is literally supposed to appeal. Like this is WWE's Ring of Honor show, right? Like that's the way they're booking it.
Yeah.
This is their indie show. Like they're trying to hit that demographic with this show.
Yeah.
And with their main shows, they're hitting the other. Okay, so that's.
So then we had Tom Riddle versus Cassius Ohno.
Yeah.
And that match was terrible.
Man,
that match was
legit.
legit.
Tom Riddle.
Matt Riddle.
Matt
Okay.
Riddle.
Did I say Tom Riddle?
I think you did.
I meant Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle.
That's the Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Tom Riddle's Voldemort. Didn't
Yeah,
he?
Voldemort. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
Right.
Cassius
That's
Ohno
what threw me.
versus
I'm like, wait, did I miss that?
Chris Hero versus Voldemort. Got it. All right.
All right, yeah. Chris Hero versus Voldemort.
guys,
Couldn't have been worse.
Guys, don't
say his
the
name.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well,
we've wrecked
it's cool.
that.
It's cool, dude. Harry Potter already exploded him.
I've only seen through 4.
Oh well, spoilers.
Spoiler
No, that's a
alert.
Spoiler
joke. I've
alert.
seen them all.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so this match.
All right, so this match was bad. There's no if you like that style. There's no if you know what I mean. Like it's not if you like that style. It's not they were working stiff. Oh, they were working strong style. Oh, this match was just straight up bad.
It was not good.
And I've never been impressed with Cassius Ohno or Chris Hero. Never been impressed. I don't understand why
Dude, he stomped straight on Matt Riddle. Kicked
in his
his
mouth,
jaw
dude.
off his face. It
Yeah.
was rough. Oh my god.
This is my first exposure to Matt Riddle there also. And they did the promo package leading into it, and they kind of juiced him as like a guy with credentials and he's a UFC record and like so far as you're going to be some kind of real deal. And I don't get excited about the UFC guys anyway.
Right.
But at the time, going into that package, you're like, okay, cool. And then by the time they get to the end of the package, and he actually talks a little bit, and he's totally just one of those, dude, bro,
He's a
like,
dude.
what?
He's a
That's
dude,
not-
bro. Yeah.
That's not what I expected out of what they just built him as. And then he came out for the match, not wearing any shoes or anything.
He's wearing
like that. I'm
flip flops
like,
to the ring. He wears flip flops to the ring, and then he kicks them off. And then,
yeah. But I saw him just start to work like shoeless, and I was like, I hope this idiot gets his foot stomped. And then he got his foot stomped real bad. Yeah.
And what did Mauro Ranallo say?
The one part of the match I liked.
Yeah.
Mauro Ranallo goes, stomping on his foot, putting it out like a cigarette.
Yeah.
Mauro Ranallo is so ridiculous.
I'm not hip to Mauro Ranallo yet. He's working hard. All due respect, but he is not my. He is not my announcer, bro. Not my lead announcer. Matt Riddle has managed to capture a portion of the audience who digs his character, digs his shtick. He's got the Bro Show. I don't know. I think that's on YouTube, but I don't really know much about the Bro Show because and but it's he's got a following from that, and that's why he's here. He was on the Indies. He's got his little following outside of that. That's why he's here doing this thing. So respect to that. I don't think he's good in the ring. I don't dig anything he does.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of my point. Like, I mean, that's the first exposure. Maybe he's great, or maybe he's really green and will become good. I'm fine with all those prospects. But as far as today went,
right?
Like I said, that video package started, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is. And then I got what it was, and I went, ooh, no, pass.
Yep. So then we had the big match is and this is one we're going to hear a lot about, which is sad because I don't think it's good. Is Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano. I will support both these guys, and I tend to like these guys depending on who they work. I think they are they're obviously good in the ring. They are smooth and fluid and have plenty of experience, and they're very impressive athletes. Very impressive athletes. I don't want to take away from these guys, but there just wasn't much to the match. The work was just
great. The psychology was terrible.
Yeah, it was just all. There was no story. It was just all up. Look at our spots. Here's the spot. Here's the next spot. Here's the next spot. And they kind of try. I know. A lot of people are going to argue with me and say that, oh no, they were telling the story that. Is Gargano a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
They did that a little bit.
They tried to do that, but that didn't actually impact the match at all because then they just still did their spots.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it was like there were a few story beats that were spots.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there was no flow to it at all. Like they would stop everything they were doing and then do one of the spots that was like, oh, we'll do the high spot, story spot, high spot, high spot.
Right.
Like there was no actual story there. It was just we'll stop for a minute, read this page, and then get back to our thing.
Yep. And
none of it flowed.
Yeah. And even the end, they so in the end, Gargano teases. They pull back the ape or the mats on the floor and tease Gargano doing something onto the concrete, and then he doesn't because he's struggling with whether or not to be a good guy, bad guy.
Also, the ref came out and got in his face and was basically like, "I'll disqualify you if you do that."
Yeah,
which leads into how stupid the end
right,
is.
because in the end is he just decides to go back to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
in
so
full view of the referee,
right, and the referee just watches, and okay, bro, whatever.
Yeah.
So they get, but even that, like, so he hits the suplex on the outside, which was probably supposed to be a brain buster.
Yeah.
And then roll Ricochet back in. He stands right up so he can take the DDT, which is the actual finish.
Yeah.
Which is so you're telling me that the story behind whether or not Johnny Gargano is going to be a good guy or a bad guy is that he just basically beats this guy clean, and you know what I mean? Like, there's no story there. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, like, it was just like, I agree with everything there, because these guys are both impressive. They're both good workers.
Yep.
They did a lot of really cool, really crisp spots in this match. But psychology severely lacking. Yeah. And I really it lost me totally when, like, that whole thing could have been a neat spot, like, because he pulled back the pads and the ref was immediately like, "Don't do this. That's straight illegal."
Right.
And so he didn't. He decided to change his mind. He didn't do it. But then a minute later, did it anyway in front of the ref. Ref did not care, and then we went home.
Which, I mean, even if you wanted to argue for whatever reason that is a legal move, and we'll get into the nitpicky on the storyline there, but that completely negates, like, if he's sitting there going, "Am I a good guy or a bad guy? Should I hit this guy with this thing?" If it's a legal move, you're not a bad guy for doing it.
Right.
Like, there was no reason for you to not do it right then and then turn around and do it again later.
I think they could have left the ref out of that, right? Like, it could have been one of those things where, like, he pulled that mat back and was going to hook it and then second-guessed it himself and decided he didn't want to win that way. Like, we didn't have to involve the ref and get down there and threaten him that that's not a legal move or whatever. Especially if you were just going to turn right around and do it in front of the ref, and it didn't have there was no repercussions for it. It was, I don't know, it was really weird. I was just
and again, like I said, I mean, like you guys have said, those guys are probably great in the right circumstances, because they was definitely a series of very clean spots.
Yep.
Yeah,
very acrobatic, some really cool maneuvers. But the problem is when you run into, non-storytelling like that, and then you combine that with the fact that there were 46 finishes in that match.
Yeah.
And man, if you're gonna kick out of 20 finishers, how do you ever, like,
right.
There were spots way more impressive that would have done way more to end a guy than that suplex DDT with or without the concrete.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna kick out of things that are 10 times more hard hitting than the thing you finally fall down to, it's like none of it matters at that point.
Yeah.
Just really takes it out. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to that, because I have a theory that I'm gonna posit at the end of this.
Okay.
So let's
burn through these last 2 minutes.
Yeah. So the next match is Shayna Baszler and Belair. I can't think of her first name. Belair. Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair, I'm super not sold on. Shayna Baszler, I'm a huge fan of.
Agreed. I love Baszler.
Baszler is great. Baszler is still finding herself in the ring. Okay, she's great. She's got the character. She carries herself well. She presents herself and carries herself in such a way that she feels like, who is going to get in the ring with her? You know what I mean? Like which one of these, she is going to break all these other little girls that, you know what I mean?
I totally got that from her, and then she totally carried it forward. I will say on the Belair side, I got the same thing, that problem I had with Matt Riddle. This is my first exposure to her, and they go through this video package, and with they've got interviews where she sounds super tough. They got the video package bits where she looks super tough. They really built the story around the match, and then her actual entrance, she comes down all like preening, like very Valley Girl like kind of bobbing and stuff. I'm like, that's not at all what I was just sold 30 seconds ago.
So that's kind of a problem, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because and I noticed it huge here too. And I don't mean to pick on Bianca for this specifically, because I notice it throughout the WWE right now, is they do this thing where, like, your entrance is your entrance, and then if you're angry in your storyline, you can be angry in the ring. But like the entrance, if their entrance is a happy skipping, and presumably so they can slap hands or do whatever, like Matt Riddle did the same thing. Matt Riddle is supposed to be in this heated feud where you know he's knocked Cassius Ohno out and choked him out, but Cassius Ohno still beat him up and beat him out outside the ring, and after the match is over, and so it's supposed to be this heated thing.
It's like a big grudge match here, right?
Yeah, a big grudge match, and he still comes out to the ring, yo, bro, in his flip-flops, pounding fists, because, like, let's get the, you know what I mean? And Bianca did the same thing. You know, she's been beat up by, she's been threatened by Shayna Baszler. She's been beat up by Shayna Baszler's crew, and how she come to the ring. She doesn't come to the ring to fight this monster, Shayna Baszler. She comes out doing her little skip and her little bob and twirling her little long stupid ponytail. You know what I mean? Like, it's a disconnect. And I've seen it, and I've seen it on Raw and pay-per-views and other stuff where guys who are supposed to be in these heated feuds still come out slapping hands and high-fiving and throwing their stuff out to the crowd, and then they get in the ring, and all of a sudden when they're in the ring, they're trying to be tough guys. And it just creates a little bit of a disconnect.
I think it was just so much more pronounced to me in this case because, like, I will admit I lose it on the main roster sometimes when it's got, like, when I'm used to seeing the entrance and I just see the entrance, I don't always stop to think, well, that's weird, because I'm used to it. But on a show like this, I'm not a first-time NXT viewer, but it's been a while since I've watched one.
Right.
So I'm new to a lot of these people, and you're walking in and you're trying to sell me something, and I'm willing to buy it.
Yeah.
But then you immediately turn around and give me something totally different than what I was buying in for, and it's loud and clear at that point, that the disconnect.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. So this match was not good at all. I think this was probably meant to be a little bit of a test for Bianca. She's really only been doing basically squash matches. She's undefeated on NXT TV. She's really, and that's really what she's been doing, is just basically squashing the other girls. So she gets out there, they have a short, basic match, and she hits her couple high spots because she is also super athletic. Yeah. So that's her thing. Shayna Baszler comes out there. She's much more ground and pound, and like I said, still trying to find herself. So she's probably not ready to ring general or carry somebody like Bianca Belair and really put the match together the way it probably should be. Even getting to the end, you just see them. And the crowd really didn't care about this match much at all, which is partially the fault because Bianca's been a heel and Shayna's a heel. So this is a heel-heel match. That also should be thrown out there.
Yeah.
They tried to swerve Bianca a little facey for this match, and Bianca's been getting a little bit of a popular,
totally.
but not strong enough.
I took her as a face.
Yeah, well,
she
definitely not.
She worked the face in this match.
She did,
sure. Yeah.
and she's been, it's one of those things where she started to get a little bit of a face reaction, I think. So they jumped on it and probably hurt her because now she's in this bad match that she wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
So this match is not good. You even see like their inexperience at the end because they start to build to something. Like they accidentally start building something in like the end spot where the crowd does finally, after the whole match, they're working this end spot. And Shayna Baszler has her trapped in her hold, and Bianca fights up once and gets knocked down, and fights up again and gets knocked down, and like the crowd is starting to get with her, except that then she just passes out because that's the end of the match. You know what I mean? So it's a completely accidental. Like you see that happen, and you go, "Oh, these okay, you guys don't realize where you're at, what you're doing, or how it's going to affect the crowd."
Yeah, the crowd was pretty silent through this match.
Yeah.
This is definitely the part of the show where I felt like the crowd had just checked out.
Yep.
Because it got quiet. Even for the main event, they were a lot quieter than I expected them to be.
Which is what we're, so the main event, which is Aleister Black versus Tommaso Ciampa, two total pros, and I'm a huge Aleister Black fan.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Aleister Black fan. I love the way he works. I love his character. I love everything. I think he has felt too big for NXT from about the first time he showed up.
Yeah.
He just felt, he felt like he should have been on the main roster, just the way he carried himself and just the way he did not feel like an indie worker. Everybody else on NXT feels like an indie worker.
Yeah.
He did not feel like an indie worker. He felt like a superstar. And this match was fine. The crowd just was not into it. The crowd did not get behind it.
Yeah, it was super weird. And
even towards the end, and I kind of mentioned. Sorry, I'll let you talk in a minute.
No, I was gonna say we commented on it at the beginning because I was like, I am shocked that the crowd's so quiet for this, and you did kind of mention that.
Yeah,
this is like his style.
Aleister Black tends to be a build.
Yeah,
and it's a slower build. He gradually gains steam throughout the match.
Yeah,
and then the end is a lot hotter than the beginning usually. it never got hot. They never got hot, and I don't know who to blame. I mean, you know what I mean. The match itself was fine. It's not like there was any thing taking it off, and that's why I kind of stopped you earlier, because I think, you know, in addition to the show kind of burning themselves out in that first match, the crowd kind of burning themselves out in that first match because they were so excited. This style burns itself out. Okay.
Yeah.
So these guys, because there is no, so I talk about all the time when I'm training guys, when I'm working, when I'm putting matches together, the roller coaster.
Yes.
And you want to take the crowd on a ride, and up and down and up and down, and, you know, big dips and big falls and slow points and high points, and you want to build this roller coaster. What these guys do is they are just a steady build all the way up, and a crowd can't sustain that. You know, there's no in the Gargano Ricochet match, there is no dip. It's just up, and what's this spot? How do we make the next spot bigger? How do we make the next spot bigger? How do we make the next spot bigger? It's a steady climb, and maybe that can work for one match. You know, maybe that can work for a few matches if there are other matches that aren't like that. Because in addition to your match needing to be a roller coaster, your show needs to be a roller coaster.
Right.
And when you build these shows this way, it's just up and up and up and up and up, and then it never comes. You know, and then it never comes down. So at some point, the crowd can't sustain that climb, and the crowd bottoms out and falls off. And we have seen this. You know, I'm not just talking out of my butt because there's no. You know what I mean? Because I don't like this style. That's why Ring of Honor never became a thing. Because this is what Ring of Honor did. Yeah. You know, and Ring of Honor started out real hot, and Ring of Honor became a thing because they were so hot in the beginning. And like, can you believe, you know, man, I've never seen wrestling like this. But it can't sustain that. You know, we have seen it play out with Ring of Honor on a company spectrum. You know, that's what it can only build for so long, and then it has to bottom out and, you know, die off.
To me, wrestling is not, I mean, it's not just in-ring work. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yes.
There's character building, there's storytelling, which is a huge part of it. And it's like almost the unsung part, because you never hear people talk about.
Right.
But obviously, like, that's what we're there for.
Yep.
You know? But, like, through your show, through your program, but through the match itself, you have to have that.
Yes.
And all this is a stunt show, essentially.
Right.
Like, it's neat. It's cool to see guys do just move after move after move after move, but it gets to a point where, I mean, they almost might as well not even be like, they might as well just reset after, you know, like, it might not even be a match. It might as well just be like, oh, look, two guys, oh, they did that acrobatic thing, and then they can just stop and stand back up and go set themselves up and do this next acrobatic thing. Because that's all that's actually happening anyway.
Right.
You know, there's no actual, like, ride you're going on. There's no story you're going through with them.
Right.
There's just all this stuff, and then you know, the finisher after finisher after finisher after finisher, after big move after big move after big move after big move. Like, those things are really cool to see when you see them, and on a rare occasion, if you see somebody kick out of something huge, that's really cool to do. Until you see it happen 11 times in one match,
right?
And you're like, none of this matters. None of it matters. And by the time you see the move that actually, like, you get to the end and you go, that there was another big one. That's probably actually the end, but I don't care anymore.
Right.
And then there's another kick out, and you're like, whatever. And then inevitably you get to the actual move that ends the match, and it's not because, like, oh, they finally got the thing done, they finally hit their big move, they finally overcame whatever obstacle. It's, well, they ran out of time and stopped.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it feels like.
Yep.
And so there's just no art to that whatsoever to me, as far as I'm concerned. And again, you know, maybe, you know, I know there are different styles in wrestling. But there are different styles within. I mean,
right.
The WWF/WWE is not a style. There's 10 styles within it. And I don't love all 10 of them. Well, but I understand how
there's definitely a WWE style.
You know what I know what you mean.
Like,
I don't like. I was never into, like, I've never been huge into a lot of the high flyers and stuff like that. Like cruiserweight divisions, I don't get juiced for. I can enjoy them, but I don't love them, you know?
Right.
But like, this feels like something different. This isn't just like a style of wrestling I don't like. This feels like it's a thing that just isn't wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's taking place in that ring, and some of the moves look familiar, but the core is just gone.
Yeah. So I don't quite agree with you. I understand everything you're saying, and, like, I don't disagree. I think it takes a lot of art to do what these guys... I think these guys have a vision for what they're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't take skill or art.
No,
or
I
whatever,
know.
I mean, it's Cirque du Soleil versus
yes.
Yes,
I would agree to that. Yeah. It is a system of philosophy of wrestling that is different, and I think it's lesser. You know, I think it's lesser. I don't think it's as sustainable, and I think we have seen that. I think we are seeing that play out in a couple different ways. I think we've seen it play out in that. You know, nowhere like Ring of Honor or, you know, TNA, even when TNA showcased their X division, you know, like that, like it was never sustainable and it never kept the fans long term. You know, we see it's popular on the indies, but, you know, none of those guys, like there's a reason that guys like Matt Sydal didn't shoot right to the moon. You know what I mean? In Matt Sydal, who was Evan Bourne in WWE, you know, he didn't shoot right to the moon and hasn't been the champ forever. And there is a reason further why guys like Sami Zayn are injured every 6 months, and why you know, all these guys who are coming up from the indies and coming up from that style jump in with the main event roster, or with the WWE, with the main roster, the Raw roster, and are injured right away. You know, Finn Balor. You know, happened to Finn Balor, happened to Sami Zayn. You know, Kevin Owens is injured right now. I mean, these guys aren't. These guys are too new with the company to be injured as much as they are.
Yeah. And all respect to the willingness to put your body on the line, but like, there's the right way to do that and the wrong way to do that. You know.
Yes.
Anybody who gets in that ring is doing something dangerous at any point. It could go sideways, but you know, when you're inviting it, it's going to happen more often.
Right. Well, and when you're when these guys are burning themselves out on the indies because this is how they feel like they have to work to get noticed, to get over. Yeah. You know, then you don't have it to give when you get your shot. You know, when you want to be stealing the show on Raw and main eventing WrestleMania, you know what I mean? And you burned yourself out in the KC Hall in Paducah, Wisconsin. Yeah. You know, that's a thing, you know, where you could have learned, you know, if you apply a little more storytelling and psychology and learn a little more old school and use that to get the most out of a little, you've got more to give when you get to the main stage that way.
And I was like the way, and some of it's just the advancement, like things get bigger, I get that, but like you get to, you know, Triple H used to end guys with a pedigree. Yeah. And there definitely were points where he'd have to give 2 or 3 or whatever. Like that happened, but it's like if was Tommaso, was that his name?
Yep.
You know, like he used that like hyper pedigree, like that straight up down and then boom, and then still had to hit like 4 of those. Yeah. And if that's a thing that like every time you end a match you have to hit 4 of those, like what are you saying about the people who came before you? Was Triple H just so weak that, or like everybody who fought him was so weak that they went down to 1? But you know,
well, we saw. Well, it was the Gargano match earlier on. There was a superplex off the top rope and an angle slam.
Right.
Yeah.
Both of those are finishers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I know that the superplex. I know that the superplex kind of stopped being a finisher along the way. But like, that's totally the point we're at now.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and there were points of that where like they would hit those. Not only will they hit those big moves, and not only will they kick out of those big moves over and over again, but they don't kick out and like go into like a 5 count or anything, like a double down or anything like that. They kick out and both spring to their feet and start fighting full speed again.
Yes, they do.
You know, it's
the selling is few and far between. They don't sell very much.
Makes me sad.
We do sound like a bunch of.
I'm gonna turn into one of those Ghostbusters guys.
Yeah.
Oh no!
About this.
Oh no!
Well, listen, guys. All right, so we grumped about we've grumped the first half of this podcast.
Man, this was a grumpy podcast
today. But we've got a whole afternoon now. We're gonna go watch some old Rumbles.
Yep.
We're gonna go watch the main Rumble tonight.
Yep.
So we've got some stuff to get excited about. We've got some stuff to excite us, because then we're gonna come back. We're gonna go do all that. Then we're gonna come back and record the main part of this podcast as a review of the Rumble that we just watched.
Yes.
So we've got some apple juice. We've got some snacks. We're gonna go have a great afternoon. Before we do that, let's throw out some predictions for the Rumble.
Yes.
And then we will come back and we'll be energized, we'll be excited, and we'll have just a great celebratory second half of the podcast.
I like it.
All right.
All right, so where do we want to start? Do we want to do predictions just for the two Rumbles themselves?
I have
we can do whatever.
I have a list of predictions we can start with. All right?
Okay, let's do it.
So let's start with now they just all disappeared. Let's start with Lesnar Balor.
Lesnar Balor. Okay, well, first of all, one of the things we already talked about. Do we think we're going to see Demon King Balor tonight?
My concern.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Demon because we haven't seen the Demon. We haven't seen the Demon. We saw the Demon one time in like a 3-minute squash against Baron Corbin since his injury at the SummerSlam where he won the Universal Championship and was injured. Yes.
Yeah.
So I would love to see the Demon King, but the Demon King has never lost.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to pit the Demon King against
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar.
Well, that's an interesting thought because it's like, so they've been pushing Balor pretty hard lately.
Yes.
It does seem like they're kind of throwing him at Lesnar pretty quick without much of a build for it, which leads me to believe that he's not going to win, but could possibly be turning this into a bigger build for something. Maybe for Mania. Who knows? But I mean, they've also surprised us with stuff like this in the past, right? Like, what if the whole plan here is to have him stroll straight in, take that belt off of Lesnar, so that he can go on and face whoever the Rumble winner is tonight, and Lesnar just does something different at Mania this year.
Well, which I compared to when Lesnar wrestled Eddie Guerrero prior to a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And Goldberg came out and interfered, so Eddie Guerrero was able to shock the world and take the title off of Lesnar, and went on. You know what I mean? I could see that happening. They've been kind of building the Strowman thing, so I could see Strowman coming in and costing them that match. In which case, I would love to see the Demon come out, see the Demon take on Brock Lesnar, and then some shenanigans with Strowman where Lesnar wins. I think that's probably my prediction. I'm feeling like that because the other X factor is this whole. They did the thing a couple months ago, where the McMahons came out and were like, we haven't been giving you guys what you want.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure and give you guys what you want. I think the fans want to see Balor with the championship.
Yeah, totally.
So there's that to take into consideration.
Yeah. That was going to be my prediction too.
Yeah. Okay, so women's championship. SmackDown side is Asuka, who just won the title the last pay-per-view against Becky Lynch, who's super hot right now. Like, white hot.
Yeah.
So what are our thoughts here? Like, first of all, can I say that I feel like the putting the belt on Asuka thing feels too late, right? Like, I feel like this might even play into the whole McMahon thing where they feel like because looking back now at Mania last year, I don't think I agree with her losing to Charlotte the way things have happened since.
Right.
Because, man, she was so hot. And that would have been like the time to put her over and give her that belt. And instead they had her lose to Charlotte because they were going to build Charlotte. But immediately they put that belt on, what's her face? Carmella. Right after that. And it just kind of makes you go, why?
Yeah. So that I think that just indicates that they had no forward, that they were thinking, Asuka Charlotte Mania. They had no plan, no thought beyond that because it wasn't just that they put they went a different direction and like Asuka petered out because she lost to Charlotte. Like Asuka, they had nothing for Asuka.
They had nothing for Asuka.
She went and started teaming with Naomi and
and just started doing a bunch of weird mid-card stuff.
Yep.
It just wasn't who she was before that, which is sad. And now all of a sudden they've put her back in that spot.
Yep. And she's still over, and she's carrying that spot, and I think it's a good spot for her because I think they put that belt on her to clear the way for whatever they do with Becky and Ronda at Mania. Mm-hmm. They don't need the belt for that, or at least they don't need Becky. They don't need the SmackDown belt for that. So Asuka with the SmackDown belt, we can do whatever we want. Maybe maybe her and Naomi, maybe her and Charlotte, depending on how Charlotte's involved with Ronda. So I think Asuka keeps it tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, and
me too.
You're thinking, so you're thinking we're gonna get Becky and Ronda as a Mania match.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That would be hot for sure. And so this is one of those
So
scenarios.
hot right now.
He's absolutely right.
I don't think after the reaction they got from Becky having to fall out of that match when they were going to do it at SmackDown.
Yeah.
After the reaction they got, I don't think we would not have it tonight if they weren't planning for it at Mania. You know what I mean?
So do you think if she loses in her match to Asuka, she shows up in the Rumble and wins the Rumble, and that's how she goes towards Ronda?
Or she just comes out, and I think there's a very good chance. You know, Ronda is wrestling Sasha tonight.
Yeah.
Sasha is one of the 4 horsewomen.
Yeah.
I think there's a good night, or there's a good chance that we see Becky in that match. You know what I mean? Like Becky or Charlotte
they can do
start
the
to tease.
Horsewomen
yeah,
thing, right? Because Ronda hangs out with Baszler
and
two,
yep,
who they also call themselves the Horsewomen.
Yeah, so there's the 4 horsewomen MMA, and there's the 4 horsewomen of pro wrestling. Yeah.
So we might get that showdown.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if I don't know if they would do that as like a 8-man, 8-woman tag at Mania or anything. I think we're gonna get Becky and Ronda.
It has to be Becky and Ronda.
I think we're going to get Becky and Ronda.
And you know what? They keep talking about like a women's match main eventing Mania this year. That
like
could
if they're going to do the main event thing, then it's got to be Becky.
It's got to be Becky and Ronda.
But I could definitely see that, because Mania is about great matches, but it's also about spectacle.
Yeah,
I could see them doing that 8-man thing, potentially their 8-woman thing.
Yeah. Well, my concern with that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, like not definitive by any means. And again, if they're going to have the women's match as the main event, they've got to do the biggest draws.
Yeah.
So that sort of depends on what their plans are there. But it's another one of those things where I just wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like a Mania, but in reality, it kind of feels like a Mania.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be, you know, the same thing as you know, when they did, and this turned into like Mania predictions.
Yeah, I know, right? Now
but
well, that's what the Rumble is.
Yeah,
the Rumble's a giant Mania.
That's the start to Mania.
That's
start to the road.
You just made a thing. Yeah. You just made a thing. No, so when they did Sting, you know, when we got Sting and H, we got DX and the NWO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we're more likely to see stuff like that in a one-on-one match with Becky and, you know, so Becky and Ronda is the match, but, you know, here comes Shayna Baszler and Jessamine Duke. Oh, here comes Bayley and Sasha. You know, what's Charlotte doing out here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's a good call, because as impressed as we've been with Ronda, as impressed as I've been with Ronda, man, is she ready to just go in straight up and carry a one-on-one match for the main event of Mania like she's Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels? No, she is not.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? All due respect, because I'm loving everything they do with her.
Yeah.
I've been so impressed with Ronda's run.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
All right, let's Rumble predictions. Let's do
well, before that, I have a Rumble prediction. Which Rumble's going to main event this year?
Women's.
You think the women's going to main event?
Did the women's main event last year?
Women's main event last year. Women's last year the men's Rumble was so totally bog standard, no surprise, no special.
That's right. It was
nothing.
boring.
And I think it opened the show.
Yeah.
And then the women's main evented
was super exciting
and had all kinds of
Yeah.
surprises and guest stars and awesome spots. So, do you think they can continue that run, or do you think we get the switch back this year?
I think they flip-flop them.
You think they flip-flop back this year? That would be probably my guess, too.
Okay. So, well, then if the women's one happens first, we probably won't see the Becky Lynch surprise entrance and win.
Yeah.
So that makes it tough for
really
me.
weird.
It makes it, so now I'm trying to think of who we might see win the women's that would go.
Well, remember too, though, and I forgot this earlier, because there's 2 belts.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
So
Well, Ronda's got one, and Asuka's got the
whoever's
other.
going for the other belt could end up being the winner. You know?
So who would fight Asuka? At
So it could
Mania?
be Charlotte.
Charlotte
would be a high contender on my list. Who else is on?
Yeah, I think whoever wins this Rumble is going to fight Asuka.
Yeah.
For certain.
Okay.
I think that unless it's Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Because then she'll choose Ronda.
Yeah.
But anybody else, I think, is going to be who faces Asuka.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, I think you're right about Becky and Ronda. It's happening for sure.
So I think you could make an argument for Charlotte. I think actually Naomi is probably a strong contender. They've been doing that storyline. Well, so she was a tag partner with Asuka.
Right.
So you can kind of fall back on that story, like, oh, are they now they have to fight each other?
Yeah.
You can but they've also been kind of building her with that the storyline with Mandy Rose trying to seduce.
So
that like they're obviously not. They haven't just written her off. She's in kind of almost a prominent little like here's this storyline featuring Naomi. So I wouldn't be surprised. And they always kind of go back to Naomi.
Yeah.
And Naomi's good. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not questioning that. That's why I think she's probably a high contender. When I think about people on Raw, I don't know anybody. I can't. Nobody on Raw, none of the girls on Raw stand out to me.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of where I'm at too. Like it's hard for me to picture who might win to go on to that type of a spot at WrestleMania.
It makes the Rumble way more fun though.
Yeah,
it does.
It could be interesting if they did because we'll definitely have like Nikki Cross and the women's power. What's her name? The other call up from NXT. Some wrestling analyst I
know,
remember. But she like does all the kind of throwback.
If you had a list of people.
Yeah, if I had a list. Thanks, John. But I think one it might be interesting for there might be the possibility of one of the NXT call ups to get that win and go after Asuka as well.
Yeah.
So
totally. That could be interesting if they did something like that.
Yeah.
Or like if any of this, because I would imagine that it wouldn't be a shock to see like Baszler show up in this Rumble, right?
For sure.
Some of the NXT girls.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting too. So for the men's Rumble, I think my solid prediction for that one is Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like, man, if Balor wins that belt and then McIntyre wins the Rumble and we get a Balor McIntyre match for Mania, that's totally one of those things that would be like, that's the McMahon's giving the fans what they want kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that would be crazy.
Yep. Since you called Balor or since you called McIntyre, I'm gonna throw out my number 2. I think Joe's gonna win.
Samoa Joe?
Samoa Joe. I think we're gonna see Samoa Joe win, and I think at Mania we're gonna get Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles triple threat for the SmackDown Championship.
Okay, that could be too. Yeah.
Because it's been blowing my mind that AJ Styles has been like one of the hottest faces in the company for like the last year, and they're burning out his rematches with Daniel Bryan. Like this will be his second pay-per-view rematch. We're not gonna go into a third pay-per-view rematch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For Mania, maybe we will, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
But you put Joe in that. Boom, completely different. Changes the
dynamic of the whole thing. Yeah, totally. What do you think? Like,
I think the things you guys said make sense.
Oh, I was thinking maybe you were gonna.
I have been on a wrestling.
This.
Oh, is he in it?
Probably.
Isn't he busy mayoring?
Yeah. Actually, I think he just did like a retirement thing at a house show because of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been on a bit of a hiatus. Pretty much since last Mania, so like I've kept up with a few things here and there.
Mania.
Yeah, like I haven't watched regular. I've watched stuff since then, but I haven't watched regularly since then. So it's one of those we're going in like I don't know enough of the storylines to go, well, this is probably what they're gonna do.
Yep.
You guys just said a bunch of stuff that made sense.
Yeah.
So that might happen. And I was just gonna throw AJ Styles to throw it out, but I don't even think he's in the match, isn't he?
No, he's wrestling.
He's
wrestling. Yeah.
He's not even in the Rumble.
Yep.
D-Bry. He's wrestling D-Bry.
So my fake guess doesn't even make sense. So I'm just gonna enjoy having no idea.
I wish we hadn't said anything, so you could have been like, my guess is AJ Styles. And you could have been like, go back to your list, John. Go back to your stupid list.
All right. Well, do we want to stop it there then?
I think we stop it there.
And I think for just for the air of realism, everybody listening right now, we need you to hit pause for about 8 hours.
Go watch some old Rumbles.
I'm actually just gonna leave this recording the whole time for 8 hours. So you'll just hear us in the other room.
We're gonna get some phone calls about the length of this one.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you back in a bit for our thoughts on the Royal Rumble. All right.
Welcome
Wake up,
back,
everybody. Welcome back.
It's
not
almost
been,
midnight.
It's not been very long for you guys.
It's been
but
0 minutes for
Right.
you guys and many, many minutes for us.
Royal Rumble 2019. Let's get into it.
In the books.
Let's discuss it. It's over. It's wrapped. We just finished it. Where do we want to begin, gentlemen?
Well,
I'm sleepy and my heart burns.
We ate so much food and so much junk. My stomach is full of Chinese food. It's man, that show was long.
Yeah,
it was a long show.
They all are though now.
All the
That's how they
pay-per-views
go
are
now,
long. I don't know what the WWE, if they've lost sight, if they just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know why they think
the way you've described the network, it's a perfect business model for them.
I
They
guess.
don't really have to entertain the live crowds at the big show so much. They need to get people viewing, and even if everybody doesn't view right away,
All about that watch time.
or if
Yep.
they do, I mean,
Split it up and
a lot
watch.
of people will just turn it on and leave it on all day.
I mean, if we're talking, like in comparison to YouTube, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Watch time's king on
Right.
YouTube, so that's what they're going for. That's why they air so much freaking wrestling now, because they want those watch time numbers. But anyway, here we are, like 10 hours later.
It felt like two pay-per-views. It felt like two. Well, and I don't just mean that. So we kicked off. We didn't watch the pre-show.
We skipped the pre-show.
So we started with the actual Royal Rumble event.
Yeah. We wanted to watch
started with
old Rumbles instead.
Yeah, we watched-
chose to watch some old Rumbles instead of the pre-show. So that's what
Which
we
is
did.
a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
So we started with Becky Lynch and Asuka.
Yeah, that kicked off the show,
Yep.
which
Then-
I was kind of surprised by.
Then we had the tag match that was Shane and Miz versus The Bar.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had the other women's title match, which was Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks. I don't know. I was like sitting there going, Charlotte? No, it was Sasha Banks.
And,
yes.
and then we had the women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember, and so it was 9 when the women's Royal Rumble was wrapping up.
Yes, because we were like,
So-
it's 9 o'clock and we still have 2 title matches and the men's Royal Rumble.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
So like, and to me, like that almost felt like there was a pay-per-view.
Because it started at 6.
Yeah.
The first
And then-
3, that was 3
and it really
hours.
was like,
Yeah.
other than the tag match, it was really like all the women's stuff.
Yep.
And then all the
and then
men's
yeah,
stuff.
and then
Yeah.
so then we had a second pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That was
You're totally right.
Yeah, that was AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor, and then the men's Rumble.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like we've talked about how we get together for these and we watch wrestling all day, but it's funny to me how like when we used to do this by choice and we'd start at 10 in the morning and we'd watch old stuff and then the pay-per-view and go until 10 at night when they used to end.
Right.
And so we'd sit here for 12 hours. But now the show itself goes from like 2 to midnight.
Yes.
And somehow that is so much more exhausting than, than when we would do it technically for a little bit longer. But we'd kind of have more control, and then the actual show itself would just be a few hours. And now it feels like there's so much just responsibility to sitting there for 6 hours and watching the new stuff, and it gets tiresome.
I don't agree with you at all. Personally, that's me. I get what you're saying, but I don't feel that. I enjoy.
I like all the wrestling days.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
the show itself, I mean, like, I feel like the longer pay-per-views
yeah.
cuts into our watching of old shows.
For
thing
sure.
that
Well,
we
and that's
do.
what I'm saying.
For
Like
sure.
the longer shows aren't as good as shows. I don't think generally. I can't think of one that's been.
Well, we commented on it a lot while we were watching this one.
Yeah.
The crowd reactions, et cetera, which I think
like
we can bring
when,
up
when
while
they
we're talking.
when they sit people in that room for 9 hours. It kills
Yes.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
And crowd participation isn't the right word, but the crowd energy, like, is big for a wrestling show.
Yeah.
And so I mean,
Well,
like you said, there are times they get up and times they get down and
Right.
everything like that, but they do seem to be a lot more deadened than they used to be. And maybe
well,
it's perception.
Well, no, it definitely happens to the crowd and the audience. I don't feel a difference except that we talk about how long it is. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
to me, it's less fun to watch when the crowd when 50,000 people are in the room, and I can't feel them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less engaging.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, let's start breaking down some of the matches. Anything specific that we want to talk about. So the opening match was
Yep.
Asuka versus Becky Lynch.
Yep. It's real good.
It was a really, really good match. I really enjoyed it. I was shocked to see it go on first, but ultimately that made sense and played exactly into what our predictions were going to be, right?
Yep.
Which was still amazing, even though it played out the way we predicted.
Yeah.
It was still awesome to see happen. So yeah, Asuka retained, actually tapped Becky out in the match.
Yep.
So clean win, clean victory.
Clean win, tapped her out.
They still both looked strong though.
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody and none of the crowd, like the crowd doesn't care.
Okay, so we kept kind of making comparisons to this night being like the year that everybody was expecting Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble and he just never showed up.
Yeah, they got Rey Mysterio instead.
Yeah,
Booed him out of the building
tonight
simply for not being Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, exactly. So tonight the same thing was going on. Everybody expected to see Becky Lynch show up in that Rumble. They were all waiting for it. They were all counting on it. So when she lost this match, they weren't upset because they were still expecting that was what they were going to hopefully see.
Yeah, I think they kind of knew.
Yeah, and this time WWE learned their lesson from the Daniel Bryan debacle, and they gave the crowd what they wanted. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't feel like does anything stand out about that match that we should bring up? I don't.
Man,
it feels like so long ago.
Well, it was 5 hours ago now. No, I think it's worth mentioning. You kind of mentioned just how good Becky is. Becky Lynch is the hottest thing in the company right now.
I've just really noticed that there's like a presence about her. Like
she's super intense.
She looks like a superstar. Like just the way she stands in the ring and the way she carries herself, and like Asuka has always been presented as like this
pretty intense
ass kicker.
Yeah.
And having Becky like just looking like a superstar in there next to her, like there's something about her. She's got a presence right now that's just like everybody can feel it, and that's why everybody loves her right now.
Becky has found that different gear, that next level.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool to see unfold. So, with the way things went down tonight, I'm actually really excited to see how that plays out at WrestleMania. Honestly.
So we had the Miz and Shane versus the Bar.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Miz and Mac.
It was fun. Yeah. It was fun. The Bar is so good. They're kind of lost in the shuffle because WWE barely cares about tag teams, and they are, and even in this, they're not shining on their own. They're implements of the Shane Miz storyline.
Well, yeah, because they're telling like a admittedly fun story.
Oh, it's amazing.
Miz and Shane,
I love
right?
Shane and Miz.
So you're right. They're totally like they're just players in this whole like silly storyline that they're doing.
Right.
But man, they're still so much fun to watch. Like Sheamus and Cesaro are good. Like they're both good, and like those two coming together as a team, which was totally just like one of those things where they threw two guys together to make a tag team. But boy, have they run with it, and like they are awesome as a unit.
Absolutely.
They're great. I love them.
Yep. So they're great.
But Miz
Miz and Shane won.
Yep. Yeah. So they're the tag champs.
They're the tag champs.
Yep.
And
I mean, Miz's dad proud.
Made Miz's dad proud. Hey, how bad? Maybe it's not fair to say how bad did Miz's dad look like?
I know, right?
I mean, he just looked like, man, he just had that mustache and the mullet, like. He just stepped right out. Like he looked like Joe Dirt. Like I didn't know Mrs. Dad was Joe Dirt. He just stepped straight out of that movie.
Jared.
Yes.
It's Dirte.
Dirte.
Don't try to church it up, John.
Joe Dirte. What was I gonna say now? Oh, Shane hit that shooting star, which was pretty awesome.
And looked like. Again, I'm assuming he was selling after that, but just watching his face after the end of that match,
you can only sell so much.
Yeah, he didn't look like he knew where he was or what
Shane,
was going on.
Yeah, he looked like he was in trouble.
And he did a little prayer right before he jumped. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun match, actually. A good second spot.
So that's totally just building to we're gonna get Miz and Shane at Mania this year, right?
So?
That's I mean, it's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know.
No, you're probably right, because that's like the whole thing they're doing, right? Like Miz is.
What other end game could that possibly?
Yeah.
Miz and Shane versus New Day. I don't know.
Oh man, no, we don't need that. It probably, I mean, it will be Miz and Shane so that Shane can
Right.
jump off something crazy and they can just have one of those kind of matches.
Right.
He's getting older now. He might just fall off of something crazy.
Like the Cell? Like you did that one year? Yeah. Okay, so match number 3 was our other women's match, right?
Correct.
So this was Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks.
Yep.
Which was...
This match got ugly.
It did get ugly.
Like, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, but it came off the rails in the right ways. In the right ways. Yeah.
You're totally right.
Yep.
There were some stiff shots.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was exciting and entertaining, and they did a lot of. She worked the arm pretty hardcore, and I was impressed with Rousey's selling too through the whole thing. Like just the little things that she was doing, like when she would go up to the top rope and not use the arm that's been working on, so she struggled to climb to the top. Like that's the wrestler.
Exactly,
that's she gets this.
Yeah.
She gets this.
Ronda gets better every time we see her.
Yeah, so I was really impressed with that.
And I feel like she pays attention to stuff that some of the people who have been in the business forever forget to sometimes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. 'Cause a lot of times you will see somebody like sell an arm after a big move and then just go right back into doing their normal routine, you know. Whereas she really, I mean, she dug into that the entire rest of the match for the most part. Mm-hmm. Even when she would use it, she would immediately like retract it back.
Right.
It was good. Sasha, man, Sasha's so good.
I really
she's
enjoy
been,
Sasha.
they've kind of let her drop into the background a little bit.
Yeah, I was glad to see her kind of back in a role like this.
Yeah,
because when she was one of those early women that were really showcasing what they could do, and when she first came up, like she was always the must watch. For me, like I loved watching Sasha matches, and of course she had that whole thing with Bailey that was amazing in the early days and all that. So it was cool seeing Sasha kind of being given the opportunity to be that again. Right. So that was nice. I liked that.
They didn't do anything. I was surprised. They didn't do. They did almost nothing. To aim us at WrestleMania, to lead into WrestleMania, to set up any kind of 4 horsewomen. After the match, Sasha had left and Sasha had come back, and so they shook hands. Like she didn't shake hands initially, right? Right. And she walked away. But then she came back and shook hands. But after she shook hands, she put up the 4 in Ronda Rousey's face. Yeah. Which is that little tiny bit of tease, but like that almost doesn't count,
I know. Because also like
almost to the point of like, what's the point of that?
What is the point of that? Because I mean, again, going back to Becky Lynch.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Like Ronda sold it like something super offensive had just happened,
Well, Ronda was offended by it,
and just stood there while Sasha left, but like there was just nothing.
I expected
substance
more.
To it.
I expected more, especially the way the match ended, and like because they did the long drawn out.
Took a while.
Took a while to end that match because the match was over and Ronda was celebrating and Sasha sat there seething for a while. So like I was like, well, here we go. Here we go. And then all they gave us was she threw up the 4.
Right.
So I was kind of hoping for a little bit more.
We'll see what happens.
But yeah, we'll see if anything builds out of it.
We got 2 months, right?
Yep. Yeah, and apparently 2 more pay-per-views before WrestleMania.
2 pay-per-views in between now and then.
So you never know.
I mean, that's in February into March.
Yep, that's what they're doing. And what Fastlane and Hell in a Cell are the next 2. So, then
we had the
Women's Royal Rumble.
Women's Royal Rumble
was next. So the one thing that we really kind of talked about through this whole thing, because last year's Women's Royal Rumble was
phenomenal,
spectacular, and you even said that it's probably in one of the top 5 Rumbles all time.
Yeah, for sure.
It was real good, real exciting, lots of surprises.
Everything felt new, everything was worked well.
Good
they had
spots.
A lot of surprise entrants, and most of them weren't like just garbage entrants that pop in and pop out.
Right,
they were taking legitimately a lot of people we hadn't seen in a long time,
right?
Paying homage to a lot of the people, like back in the Diva days when the women wrestling wasn't that great. It was kind of the blow off for the show, but every once in a while you'd have these talents pop through that they just didn't have enough of them to do anything with. Well, they all got to show up, come back for this one match, and be something in this
and some of them that didn't, because Trish and Lita were there, but also Tori Wilson and was Dawn Marie. I feel like Dawn Marie showed up.
Medusa showed up.
Medusa showed up. Yeah. So
yeah.
but yeah, they definitely had the surprises and paid homage and did some cool
Molly
stuff.
Holly, I think, was in it.
Molly Holly,
yeah. So this year's was not bad, but very cookie cutter Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It like for the majority of it, it just felt very safe. Nothing really surprising was happening. There were some good spots. There was good wrestling. I mean, there were a lot of great women's wrestlers in there.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel as exciting as last year's. It was cookie cutter. It was like
it
a
came
standard
down.
Royal Rumble.
It was good.
Yeah,
but it came down. But it came down from such a high of last year.
Right.
They set the bar so high.
Right.
And you expect it to come down a little bit, but I would say it probably came down a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Did it have a solid end though?
Well, I was gonna say I feel like that all leads right back into what I was saying earlier about this year's Rumble was all about the Daniel Bryan Becky Lynch moment.
Yes.
So I feel like they built it that way on purpose because the crowd we already knew what the crowd wanted,
right?
And that was that they wanted Becky to show up somehow. And the minute that Lana came hobbling out, not able to walk, it's like everybody knew where this was going.
Yeah.
Like we all kind of did it. We were like, oh snap! Like that's what's gonna happen. So sure enough,
Lana kind of collapses in the entryway.
Yeah.
And everybody, there's some refs and agents come out to check on her.
Finley's out there.
Yep. And they're checking on her, and then here comes Becky.
Yep.
And
like,
Becky,
throw me in, put me in, coach.
And
Finley's just like, all right, you like to fight, go ahead, and sends her in. So boom, we get Becky Lynch in there.
Yep.
We forgot that there was a ridiculous hornswoggle spot.
Hornswoggling. Was it Selena Vega?
Yeah, Selena
Vega was hiding under the ring, and after she's hiding for a second, all of a sudden, there's Hornswoggle.
Yeah. Well, she kept popping out and laughing at girls as they were getting eliminated, which is so weird. So she's doing that one time, and then all of a sudden Swoggle pops out next to her, and then comedy ensues and
chases her around the ring, and she falls, she jumps over the top and gets eliminated.
Yeah. So
I laughed.
I mean, it was a funny spot. It was funny for sure. So who were the final four in this? It came down to it was Charlotte and Becky and
Bailey. And
Bailey and Nia Jax, right?
Jax, yeah.
Because we got the moment where when Becky was coming into the ring, Nia was the only one standing, and the crowd was hot. They just wanted Becky to go in there.
They ate that up.
Oh man, yeah. So that was good stuff.
Nia Jax, of course, being the one who broke Becky Lynch's face, so that she could not wrestle Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series.
Right. So there was a little bit of storytelling.
And Becky came right in there and just
walloped her, dude. Oh my god, it was awesome. It was so good.
It was good.
But we came down to just Charlotte and Becky, right? It was just those two, and that was a pretty great.
They overplayed the.
Yeah, they did overplay.
It was.
That's right.
They played they played in the, Becky losing earlier and then coming in and taking over the injury spot and then running in, and then they did the friendship angle with Charlotte and then the fighting angle with Charlotte and then all the Nia stuff, and then when she got pushed out of the ring at one point and hurt her knee a little bit and then was coming back into the ring when it was down to the final two, and Nia hurt her knee some more. So then she had to come in and play the injury angle for the whole time. So it just became we had a lot of storytelling going into it already. We probably didn't need the extra 10 minutes of her playing up the knee.
The crowd was already hot. They were already excited for her. They were already ready to see her. Yeah, you're totally right. There was just a little bit too much probably. But doesn't matter. Ultimately, she pulled off the win. The crowd was way hot for it. We got to see Becky Lynch point at the WrestleMania sign, which I think that only happened with her tonight. I don't think we saw another WrestleMania point, did we?
I think we did. I think we did. Yeah.
And they lingered on that for a long. They let that be
they let it hang.
They really
for
let
Becky.
that hang. Yeah. So that was cool. So got the big Becky Lynch moment right there in the middle of the show.
Yep.
So that leads us to the SmackDown title match, which is the new Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles.
And the crowd did not. Wow. The crowd was dead.
They were exhausted after being so up on Becky.
And these guys wrestled a very solid match, but
I think there was also the realization too. They
still had a whole other pay-per-view to
go. Because they were sitting there. You're sitting there because normally we hit this time, it's the main event is coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So traditionally, you know, in a pay-per-view length, you know, now we're about to get, I don't know, Stone Cold and The Rock, or you know what I mean, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, whoever, right? And you know that's going to be the end, you know, so you know whatever's coming up is the end. So right now we've been through a whole pay-per-view, never mind even the pre-show, and you're sitting there realizing we still have 2 title matches and another hour-long, you know, Royal Rumble. Like that in and of itself is a bit daunting.
Yeah, totally.
So
the crowd was seriously just dead quiet for this entire match. It was really weird.
It also seemed like it seemed weird to me from a match placement, and it wouldn't have made that much of a difference by any means, but like they did all the girl stuff, but with that random tag match kind of in the middle, which I mean, I guess that was a tag title match. So they were all title matches, but that seemed like it would have been a better filler after the high of the Becky Lynch winning the Rumble.
Yeah,
seemed like it would have been a better place to kind of wedge in that tag match. Not that the tag match was unimportant or that people didn't care about it, but of all the title matches, it seemed like the least important one. So you would think they would put it in the spot where they knew the crowd was going to be kind of low.
Well, I think they did.
Yeah, match number 2 is typically like that. Well, one of those spots too. Yeah. So
typically,
I mean that title match. I think putting that title. I think.
You think they used AJ and D-Bry to cool down for the cool down match?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it definitely felt that way too. Right. It was long. I mean, it was a well worked match.
It was a great worked match. Yeah. Both those guys, man, they were not phoning it in. They were not having a, you know what I mean? They were doing their thing.
Yeah.
They were doing their thing.
So our big moment for this match was where Eric Rowan came sauntering down to the ring dressed up like Daniel Bryan in a flannel shirt and everything. Which was odd, and that's the moment that I really feel like everybody was like, "What's going on?" Because like everybody stood up at that moment, and they're all looking, and nobody knows what's going on because he's been part of the Bludgeon Brothers. So this is totally new, totally random. But yeah, ultimately what happens is the ref gets bumped, and Rowan comes in and like palm faces AJ Styles and slams him. And then the ref gets up and Daniel Bryan, did he pin him and win, or did he?
Yeah, no, he just pinned him.
He just pinned him and won, right? And that was just it. That was the end. So, and then Rowan and Daniel Bryan left together. So I guess Daniel Bryan's got himself a giant.
Is Daniel Bryan gonna start calling him Mega Me?
Mega Me. Yeah, that's what I mean. We got a giant D-Bry now to hang out with. Yeah, so that's, I don't know. We'll see where that goes, but.
Then we had.
I was just gonna say real quick, like, how many matches have we already had with AJ and Daniel? So they're not done yet. I guess we're gonna keep going.
I mean, they had one at. Did they have one at Survivor Series? I think they had one. I feel like this is the second pay-per-view match, and they've had at least 2 on TV,
right? Yeah. So I guess we're just not done with them yet. But
I guess not. I mean, I don't know.
So then that brings us to Brock Lesnar versus
Finn Balor
for the Raw title.
This match was really good.
No Demon King. Worth pointing out. But yes, this match was very good.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with it.
Crowd came back up a little bit for it.
Yeah, they were alive for this match, definitely.
Yep.
It was a fast match. It wasn't very long.
It was not very long.
It was very fast-paced, though, through the whole thing. And one of the things we were kind of worried about, like, because Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar had a pretty fantastic match back at Survivor Series. Yep. And I remember when you were talking, you were worried that we were just going to get the exact same match, like the Lesnar versus Balor, same dynamic kind of thing.
Which I was worried because as good as the Daniel Bryan Lesnar match was, it was very similar to the way that AJ and Lesnar was at the Survivor Series the year before.
Right, gotcha.
You know what I mean? So, like... was it even Survivor Series? I'm pretty sure it was Survivor Series. Anyway, you know what I mean? But so that was my concern there.
Yeah.
You know, is that, well, is this just how he wrestles these little indie guys?
Right.
But it was not.
It wasn't. Yeah. And Balor really took Lesnar to task in this match. And it was real fun to watch. I mean, he was all over the place. Like, totally just like... he was outpacing Lesnar. That was kind of the story they were telling, because he was just too fast for him. He was
Yeah.
all over the place, kept hitting those big moves, like one after the other after the other. He hit him with like, what, 2 or 3 dives in a row at that one point.
Three
He
in
just
a
kept
row.
running, getting back in the ring, another big dive, back in the ring, another big dive. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just really cool. And then he threw
He
him
put him in that. He put him into that table. I
yeah.
think it'll be interesting to check and see, the news or whatever, if they even cover it. I think Lesnar might have really hurt himself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because they put him right into the corner of that.
Yeah.
The table, the announce table. They put him right in the corner of the announce table, and then he was favoring that. The rest of the match, and not in like a wrestling selling way. He looked like he was really hurt, and he kept going to it, and kind of. So I wonder if he didn't really take that hard and stab himself a little. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, so
also that's a weird place to like work. Like you don't see that. I mean,
right, exactly.
maybe they were going like, what's weird? What can we do?
Right.
But it was like right groin, but not quite groin, like just off the groin. So I was like, that's a weird place to.
That's okay. Lesnar doesn't have to wrestle again until WrestleMania, so he's got plenty of time to heal up.
Because I mean, traditionally, I'm not much of a Lesnar fan, but I enjoyed that match also.
It was good. Yeah. Like it ended with after Balor hit all those dives, he threw him back in the ring and hit the coup de grace like immediately on him and went for the pin, and the crowd was up because this like, oh my God, is this the moment? Very close 3 count. Lesnar kicks out and immediately hooks the Chimera lock.
Yep.
And Balor tapped to it. But it was. I liked it. I mean,
it
was a good go home. It was a
good
finish. It was a great match. I mean, these guys.
And it was believable. It made sense because Balor's not going to drag Lesnar around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's where it's at. Whether it hurts that much or not, you're trapped. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff all around.
I like selling the idea that Lesnar's such a monster that you have to be nervous even pinning him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, totally.
No doubt.
Yeah. So that brought us finally to the main event at 11 o'clock at night or whatever.
Jeez.
The men's Royal
10
Rumble.
o'clock, solid 10.
Yeah.
It was 10 by the time the Rumble was going on.
So men's Royal Rumble opens with Elias in the middle of the ring, and as he's about ready to play a song for everybody before we start the match, he gets interrupted with Double J Jeff Jarrett's music,
man.
which was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And Jeff Jarrett comes strutting out in that old school early 90s ridiculous gear, which was amazing.
With a neon hat.
Yes.
That double J on
it was great.
J-E-double-F.
Yeah, gave us the whole spiel in the ring. They kind of set it up like they were getting ready to sing My Baby Tonight together, which we were all gearing up for.
I was stoked for.
We were gearing up for Road Dogg to be entrant number 3, so that we can get mad at them singing My Baby Tonight.
Because that's his song.
But they didn't go that far. Instead, they just had Elias hit Jeff Jarrett with the guitar, and then the Rumble was begun.
Yep.
We just went right into it from there. Because he eliminated Jarrett pretty quick after hitting him with the guitar, right?
I think he was out before the next day.
And then number 3 was Shinsuke.
Yeah.
And then the Rumble just really got underway. So I don't feel like there were any other surprises, right? Like there were a couple NXT guys.
Yeah. I think they we got the NXT guys. Like we got Johnny Gargano.
We got Gargano. We got Aleister Black.
We got Aleister Black,
which we assumed we would see.
We assumed we would see Aleister Black. We got Pete Dunne.
Yep, Pete Dunne showed up.
I feel like there's a couple others.
Oh, Kurt Angle was in there though. I guess he could kind of count as a surprise.
Counts as a surprise. I can't remember. I feel like there was another NXT guy, but I can't remember who it was. If it was.
They did some gimmicky things, some fun, some not. The women's Rumble had 2 of those Kofi moments that I don't think we brought up at all.
No, yeah.
Those used to be super fun when Kofi was doing really innovative things to not touch the ground and walk around. But now, like, they've stressed so much that, like, both feet have to touch the ground. So, like, one of the women at least, like, basically just landed flat back.
Yep.
Like, she was clearly on the ground, but she kept her feet up. I was like, well, I don't know. That's not fun.
As fun.
Like she did some cool acrobatic stuff to get back up and walk on her hands and whatever, but it was like it just feels so.
Kofi basically did that same thing too.
But then Kofi did it twice himself.
Yeah.
Through the whole thing, and again, because even they're not innovative anymore.
No.
They're just him not.
Well, they did
touching the ground.
They did that first one where Dean threw him out, and I swear to God, both his feet hit the ground before he immediately threw him back up on the apron.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was bad timing.
Well, he pulled the one up.
Yeah,
he pulled the one up.
Yeah, and then he just did some weird thing where he rolled on his head to the stairs and then climbed back in. And then the second time he got knocked off the apron and sunset flipped Xavier Woods as he was coming in the ring.
Was coming in at the time.
And instead of his feet weren't on the ground, but like he's sitting down on top of Xavier Woods, laying on the ground, like legit they're on the ground. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then they just did a thing where Xavier Woods just picked him up on his back and carried him back to the ring. And I don't feel like those are as fun or as creative. And like I get that that's his thing, but come on, guys.
Well, just put a little more effort.
You're on the ground.
It,
yeah, we're on the ground.
I would say, I mean, he had so many, he did it over and over again. It's kind of his thing, but if you don't have a good idea, don't do something just to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine if you're out of good ideas, that's
all
fine.
All good things must come to an end. You had a year to think of a good spot. If you didn't think of one, then it's over.
Yes.
So the little bit of fun thing that I did like is they had a bit where Kurt Hawkins came out and was scared of everybody, so he went and hid under the ring. It's Kurt, right?
Yeah, it was Kurt Hawkins. Yeah.
And then shortly after, Titus O'Neil came out and got an immediate crowd reaction. Because of his
last year Titus was running.
It was at the
greatest
Royal
Rumble.
Oh, the greatest. Okay, so it was at the greatest Royal Rumble.
He was running as fast as he could, and he slipped right before he got there and just slid under the ring.
Well, that was last year, guys. That was
lucky.
The greatest Royal Rumble was in 2018.
Lucky he didn't dive straight head first into that beam that's right in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But so he came out this year and immediately got a reaction for that, and he kind of pumped himself up and started running, and he turns around the corner on his way to the ring, and as soon as he gets pretty close to the ring, he just sort of stops and like looks around at the floor and then raises his hand in the air, and the entire crowd pops.
The crowd ate it up, dude.
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
And as he was standing there looking around, Hawkins pops his head out from under the ring, and Titus just like looks at him, and then Hawkins is going, "I'm scared. I'm scared." And then Titus just takes off after him, chases him throughout the other side, and then they both get in and then both get eliminated.
Well, because Kurt Hawkins eliminated Titus.
Oh, that's
and
right.
And then started celebrating,
Yeah.
and then Samoa Joe just dumped him out. So that's the way they did it.
But it was a real fun little throwback to him that moment. And again, it was super. It's always super fun when you see stuff like that play off, right? Because when he put his hands up and the entire crowd popped
arena.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to send condolences to Zack Ryder that your friend Kurt Hawkins got to be in the Rumble and you didn't. Sorry, broski. Still, you didn't make it. Any other big moments that I guess so we had the
if we're getting towards the end, yes, but
if we're getting towards the end, we had the Bobby Lashley moments.
Bobby Lashley.
So Bobby Lashley came in and immediately got thrown over the top rope by Seth Rollins. Yep. So he had a breakdown and flipped out and did the thing where he pulled
Rollins out of the ring.
Pulled Rollins out under the ropes, took him over to the announce table, did some terrible move to him through the
just basically threw him through the announce table.
Wasn't it like he just like picked him up and dropped him through the table?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
Yeah.
So he put Seth Rollins out of action, which prompted me to immediately go, well, Seth is winning, because I just felt like that was the sign that, well, we're going to do that thing where Seth's going to lay here dead for the entire Rumble, and then he's going to come back in and win.
Yeah. And I doubted you from the get-go.
So we got down... okay, so our big surprise at the very end then. Number 30, we knew was going to be R-Truth. So number 30 hit... R-Truth's coming out, he's rapping to the ring, and all of a sudden Nia Jax comes up behind him, starts whooping him up, and decides that she's taking his slot and starts walking into the men's Rumble.
Yep.
This actually made for some really entertaining spots because she gets in there and nobody wants to fight her.
I couldn't hear the announcers at the time. Is she just the third woman to ever be in the men's?
So there was
Rumble?
Chyna, there was Beth Phoenix, there was Karma. So she's the fourth.
Karma was
the fourth.
Yeah, so she's the fourth. So she gets in the ring, and nobody wants to fight her because she's a chick, and they're all doing that thing where they're kind
of like, well, she comes in and immediately dumps Mustafa Ali, who had been in there for like a half an hour.
And had some huge eliminations, by the way. He had a great performance.
And she was looking over the ropes at him, and Orton starts stalking her.
Yeah.
Like he's about to RKO
Which the
her.
crowd was so up for. They were ready for it.
And she turns around and just stares at him, and he just stares back, and he kind of stands up and they face off for a second. And it was a cool moment, too.
Yeah.
They gave it, they let it give time to sink in and give time for the crowd to react and everything. And then
he went for it, and she shoves him off.
Yeah, she shoves him off. He sets up for the 619, and then she tells Ray to hit the 619.
Yep.
So he goes for it, and she just catches him.
Yeah.
And as she's getting ready to slam him, Dolph Ziggler hits her with a super kick.
Oh, yeah.
And then she spins down onto the ropes, and Ray hits her with the 619. And then she pops up and takes the RKO.
Yep.
So she gets super kicked, 619, RKO'd, all like that. And then they pick her up and eliminate her, basically. It was actually a really fun moment. It was cool. And the crowd was hot for it. So, well, I think that was another one of those things where they were giving the crowd, like, because everybody's mad at Nia Jax, right? They all hate her for breaking Becky Lynch's face.
Right.
So I feel like this was kind of another one of those things where they're like, all right, crowd, okay, here you go, guys. Have some fun with this.
Well, this was, like the women's Rumble, this was very, like, it wasn't a bad Rumble, but it was very cookie cutter for the most part all the way through. And then this was like the biggest, most fun moment.
Yeah, definitely.
To that point, by far,
definitely.
With the exception of, one of the things I noticed before we get into the end, we had a lot of there was a good showing of guys who weren't on the main roster.
Yeah, definitely.
And none of them were treated like mid-carders.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
they all came in and they all had their moments and they all had some good eliminations, and it definitely felt like, everybody who showed up, even Johnny Gargano, who is smaller than Rey Mysterio, you know what I mean, was treated like a contender.
Yeah.
And so all these guys in the ring, he had a good long showing. Aleister Black had a good long showing, eliminated Dean Ambrose, and maybe, stood toe-to-toe with Drew McIntyre more than once, who is, arguably the big monster on Monday Night Raw right now, so to stand up to him, like, that matters. Same thing with Joe. They had Joe in there as big monster and let a couple guys, the guys would come in and hit, fight with him and hang with him. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something. How do I say this? That's almost something that has been a little lost in Rumbles over the past few years. Like the Rumble used to be the only time where you might see Stone Cold fight Farouk. You know what I mean? So, when you get to see Stone Cold fight Farouk, you're like, well, that's cool. And if Farouk doesn't just get stunned and eliminated right away, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I feel like there's been a long stretch where kind of the Rumble is, like, broken up into, well, here's this section, we'll fill it with mid-card guys, and they can all fight each other. And then... Randy Orton will come in and clear the ring, and then we'll send out a couple guys on Randy Orton's level to fight with him. You know what I mean? And I felt like we didn't see that tonight. When the new guys came out, they slid in the ring, they had a good showing, and they stood up to, everybody in the ring who was on the main roster. I thought that was fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So it brings us down to our final four in this is who? It's, we got to mention, because my pick earlier was Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And he was, very strong in this. He eliminated a ton of guys, was looking really, really good. But he got eliminated by Dolph Ziggler.
Yep.
And that was one of those, oh no moments for me. Because I was really hoping.
Yeah, me too. He was the one, he was really the one I was pulling for.
Yeah, definitely pulling for him. Although with Lesnar retaining, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, well, I don't know if we would have even gotten McIntyre versus Lesnar. But,
right.
So yeah, he got eliminated. So that brought us down to what? It was Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, Braun Strowman, and Andrade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andrade was part of the final four.
It was Ziggler and Andrade.
We thought
they were the two, and we knew that
Rollins was
over to the side, and everybody was kind of tending to him or whatever. And those two fought for 30 seconds or whatever. And then Strowman came in and started clearing house, and we had completely forgotten that Strowman hadn't been eliminated because he had done one of those things where he had gone through the middle ropes for some reason.
Yeah. Well, did we even see it? I feel like we didn't even see it. I feel like
I saw it.
Yeah,
I don't
did you?
remember
Okay.
why it happened now.
Yeah.
I definitely, as soon as he popped back in, I went, oh yeah,
Yeah.
But even the announcers were playing it off like they had totally forgotten.
Yep.
So it was like pretty well worked on that level because everybody was surprised when he popped back in and just started kind of clearing house.
Yeah.
And then he beats those two guys up for a few seconds, and then he looks down, and that's when Seth Rollins starts to get up. So he immediately just goes under the bottom rope again and comes and wallops Seth Rollins and throws him in. And then we've got our actual Final Four going at that point.
Yeah. So that's one of those things I'm gonna say. That feels like something we would say, when normally you would see, Seth Rollins goes through the table and then they wait, for Strowman to or somebody to clear the ring and think he won, and then we get the dramatic climb back in. Seth's still in it. Can he even go? And that's something we would always be like, wouldn't it be funny if Braun Strowman just saw him down there and went and picked him up out of the rubble and threw him back in the ring? And that's basically what happened. Yeah. And it was not as exciting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why that stuff doesn't happen much.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought immediately,
Right.
So
I think didn't they do a spot where they all tried to gang up on Strowman?
They all ganged up on Strowman.
Because he was whooping everybody up.
Well, they all dogpiled him, and that's when he threw out Andrade.
He threw out Andrade at that point.
He basically just picked up all three of them and ran forward with the guy who was in his grip, and it happened to be Andrade, and just chucked him out.
So then we got the teaser with he ended up putting both Ziggler and Rollins on the apron, and he charged, and I thought they were going to do the thing where they pulled the rope down and eliminate him.
Yeah.
But instead, he knocked Ziggler off.
He just ran him and knocked Ziggler off.
Ran and knocked Ziggler off and eliminated Ziggler. So that brought us to just Strowman and Seth, which they did some fun little teases there at the end. But at this point, like, it was solidified for me.
You're pretty sure.
I knew for certain it was going to be Rollins. And sure enough, we got a Rollins victory. So Rollins is our men's Royal Rumble winner heading to WrestleMania.
Yeah. And he pointed at, I'm pretty sure he pointed at the...
He probably did.
I mean, they definitely were showing him in the frame with the WrestleMania sign.
Your eyes had stopped working. Yeah, so eight hours later, Royal Rumble was over.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the show.
So there's an interesting. I think it's interesting because we were talking about it and I was trying to think it out. You guys were both kind of totally, and me too. I'm not super juiced. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Rollins is going to Mania. But like Danny, you were saying. I don't know if I want Rollins again. You know what I mean? I don't know if we need another Rollins WrestleMania, and it definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, Rollins hasn't gone to the main event. He was in one main event that he turned into a triple threat because he cashed in his Money in the Bank.
Was he not in the next year's main event?
He was not in the next year's main event because the next year was
Triple H. The next year?
No. The next year was Triple H, and the next year, I think the next year he was out. I think he was hurt by then.
Okay.
The next year was Triple H and Reigns.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
I'm almost positive. And then the year after that was Rollins and H, I believe, but that was not a title match. That was just.
It does feel like it though, right? Like, why does it feel like that? Like,
that's what I'm trying to, like.
I don't know.
We've never had
with the Rumble. I always hope for something surprising because I want. Something different and exciting going into Mania season. And for some reason, Rollins feels like a predictable winner to me. So
I get that, but that's also not the tradition of the Rumble at all. You know what I mean?
I think the problem with it was, though, what I was saying is, like, it's not even so much that... Because I was even mentioning, like, it's weird how much I root against guys I really like sometimes in the Rumble. Because I do really like Seth Rollins, and I don't have a problem with him main eventing Mania, even if he had done it before. But it's one of those deals where, like, you always want to hold out that shred of hope for a surprise with the Rumble, and they had eliminated pretty much everyone else who would make any sense at all, like 10 or 15 minutes before that match actually ended.
Okay.
So you spent the entire last leg of that knowing Rollins was going to win. And just hoping that maybe
you didn't
they'd
feel like,
give you a swerve that you didn't see coming.
There was no way that Dolph Ziggler was going to main event WrestleMania.
Right.
And there was probably no way that we were going to get Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar as the main event at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Probably.
Okay.
So, once we got to that point where it was like we legitimately did get to a point where it was like Rollins is the only one in this match that could possibly win.
Like if the final four were like Rollins and Strowman and McIntyre and Orton, like you could at that point you can look at it and go, I would still be thinking probably McIntyre at that point.
Okay.
You can always see a Rollins or an Orton winning.
Okay.
And maybe Strowman's the dark horse. But when you get down to Strowman and Ziggler and Andrade and Rollins, you're like, all right,
Rollins
there's
is
an
definitely
outside
winning.
chance for Strowman. No one else has a chance at this thing. It's basically just how it's done.
So okay, that's so all that's fine. So I have two things throughout.
Okay.
One, for the casual fan, they probably have no reason to doubt that we would go into WrestleMania with Strowman and Lesnar.
Okay.
Like we know it because we look for some backstage stuff. We've we watch the patterns.
Well, we've just seen those matches.
We've seen
too,
we've seen that match one time.
Okay.
We've seen that match one time, and we almost saw it at the Crown Jewel, but Baron Corbin attacked Braun Strowman,
right.
and he got pinned in he just got suplexed a couple times and pinned.
Right.
Okay, so we haven't actually seen. It's not like we've seen that match 5 times. I don't think we've seen Brock Lesnar 5 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've so I think for the and the casual fan doesn't think. Well, we've seen that match a bunch of they might think, well, we've seen that match, I don't want to see it again, but they don't think we've seen that match, so we're not going to see it at Mania. Okay? So for the casual fan, I think they were probably up in the air, if not expecting Strowman, well, he's a huge guy.
That's fine to go against the Strowman part of that aspect,
right?
But not many casual fans were expecting Ziggler or Andrade to win.
Okay, so that leads into my second point here, okay? Because I want to know, so we've seen this, what you guys are talking about, we've seen this sort of play against the company over recent years. The first year when it came down to Batista and Roman Reigns, and that crowd turned on Batista and they wanted Roman Reigns to win. Then the very next year when was it the very next year? Or was it the year after that? When it came down to Roman Reigns, when it was Roman Reigns, who they turned on? Oh, when they turned on Roman Reigns and they wanted Randy Orton to win.
Yeah,
was it Randy Orton?
I don't remember who was the final two, but they were super mad that Reigns won that year.
Yeah,
that's the year that they sent The Rock out to help him, and the crowd cared not.
Yeah, they turned on Reigns. They turned on Reigns one year, but it's kind of a thing that we've seen. The year Randy Orton won, they totally used that. They used Reigns as like a weapon, like a surprise. Like it came down to Reigns and Orton, and they were letting Reigns sort of build some momentum, and then all of a sudden RKO out of nowhere and eliminated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so we've seen this mindset of I want a surprise, I want something new at the Rumble, when that is not ever historically what has happened. Historically, whoever is your huge face has to overcome the Royal Rumble to finally get their chance back to go to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even before, and that's only since it's been the stepping stone to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We've seen, going into the ones with Austin, we didn't want a surprise. We didn't want, oh my gosh, what if, I don't even know. What if Farouk wins? I don't know why I keep going to Farouk. We didn't want. What if Farouk beats Stone Cold Steve Austin? It was I hope Stone Cold Steve Austin goes in there, stuns 29 dudes, and then goes on to WrestleMania. You know what I mean? And the same thing with and before that, it was we were never hoping oh gosh, what if Coco Beware comes out of nowhere and eliminates Hulk Hogan, and Coco Beware goes on to face Sergeant Slaughter. You know what I mean? Where did that shift come, and why is that expectation there now?
I don't think you're looking at the right expectation. I'm not saying Mustafa Ali should have won because nobody would have seen that coming.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with Seth Rollins winning, but Seth Rollins spent 10 minutes as the only person who can win. It's better when you have when you get down to a final four that is.
I see the same thing though what he's saying because
did you ever?
There were several moments when Stone Cold would have been the only one winning and we'd have been perfectly fine with that, or when Hulk Hogan was for sure the only guy that could win and we were perfectly.
I'm
fine
also not arguing that every other Rumble has always been perfect by any means, but there's also been a lot of them that get down to at least 2 to 4 guys who are really actual contenders. You know,
those are
there's
definitely
a lot,
the
you know,
most
you get
exciting.
down to the ones that are like Triple H and Stone Cold.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we
know?
watched the 2002 Rumble earlier, and that was
which is an outlier.
which is an
Well,
amazing.
you know,
Which is an outlier.
like that whole group, like between like Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and Kurt Angle and like a lot of like the bigger names at the time.
Undertaker.
Yeah, it felt like there was usually at least two of those guys. So even if you knew the storyline going in, there's always the chance that they're going to do something sideways.
So you had two of those guys
in this
tonight,
one-
though.
yeah, like barely. Nobody thought. Again, maybe the casual fan. I don't know. I didn't think there was much of a chance for Strowman to win. You know, I was kind of pulling for it, but it just sort of sucked some of the air, and the fact that it was such a long time because it wasn't like a fast paced. Well, they got down to 4 guys, and then boom, 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 and they got down through. Like, they were at, like, 7 guys.
Right.
By the time it was pretty much probably Rollins, and that drug out for, like, at least 10 minutes, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So it was like a long stretch of just sort of stewing in that fact, you know?
I think there are probably people, like, okay, so it's super weird because I feel what you're saying. And I had that same. I'm analyzing this feeling because, like I felt that. I felt it with you. I feel it now. You know, and I think there's a well. I you know
Embrace it.
not denying.
Concede.
I'm not denying the feeling.
it
I'm trying to
engulf you.
analyze that. Like what is the change and when did that change come from?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, well I think the end
This is
the end
always
of
the
a
feeling
no I
you
don't
have at
think.
the end of a Rumble.
No, you know, I don't think it is. I think when when it came down to Stone Cold and, you know, who was it the one year? Stone Cold and Kane and maybe like Albert or something, you know what I mean? And Stone Cold stunned one of them and hit one of them with a chair, and Stone Cold was going to Mania. We weren't going. I kind of wish Kane had won. I just really want that Kane and Rock match.
I don't know if like that one specifically, but I feel like that's how I am, and I love the Rumble. I think I like the Rumble more than most people I know.
Yeah.
But I always have an hour of a lot of fun with Mayhem, and then 10 minutes of going, it was fine, but I knew it was going to happen, you know. And I can look back at a lot of them retrospectively, and really enjoy the ends. But I mean, very rare is the Royal Rumble where I really enjoy the end.
See, I feel like
In the moment.
So again, I agree with you. I feel like that is only. I can say very specifically for me, that is only a recent thing.
Yeah.
That is only.
I think I've
that
always
is only.
been that way.
And I've never been a huge fan of the Rumble. My excitement in the Rumble is seeing who's going to be in WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if we're setting up for because we're always setting up for the main title match,
Right.
And so what is happening now? And that's what I'm getting to. Like, I'm not arguing that it shouldn't feel that way for this one. I'm looking objectively at the setup of the end of this Rumble, and I'm saying the setup of the end of this Rumble had Rollins and Strowman, who are both popular. They're both top guys on Raw. They have both been title contenders, and I don't see any reason why either one of them couldn't have won this match. You know, and I feel and we knew it was going to be Rollins.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I take the smart mark out of that, you know, then I'm still, you know, the insider knowledge, whatever, then I'm still disappointed that it's Rollins, knowing that I don't, not disappointed, but, you know, not jazzed that it's Rollins.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely didn't want, I don't want Strowman Lesnar at Mania. Do not, you know what I mean? So like, what am I not jazzed about? What am I really? And where is that feeling coming from? Because I did not have that feeling for any of the times Hogan won, any of the time Michaels won, Bret Hart. You know, even though like those guys, you know what I mean, and on through Stone Cold, Rock. You know, there's been the surprise like the year. You know, there's been a few surprises like years it was somebody that you didn't quite. You know, well, the 2002 that we watched was, again, an outlier.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, like, what the funny thing to me is Rollins is a guy that I do like a lot and was not on my radar for winning this match at all.
Yeah.
So under
I
that
didn't
light,
even think about him.
from an hour ago until now, or 2 hours ago until now, whatever, Technically, that was a surprise. It's just the fact that for the last 15 minutes of the match, it wasn't a surprise at all. It felt like a foregone conclusion and then turned out to be. I feel like they could have worked him into winning it in a way that it was a surprise, especially since he didn't seem to really be on anybody's radar. It seems like there was an opportunity there to have a much bigger victory at the end, or bigger surprise spot or whatever. And again, for 90% of the people watching, maybe it was that way because maybe a lot of people were way higher on the idea of Strowman winning it. So maybe everybody else but me got that, but I didn't get it. I blame you, Dan. You're the one who called Rollins as soon as
I called it. I called it earlier.
You got it in my ear.
Well, let's just look at it this way. The Rumble winner doesn't actually matter because Elimination Chamber's coming up, and 6 dudes are going to get a title shot anyway before WrestleMania. I hate the placement of Elimination Chamber. I like that match and the idea of that match. I hate that it takes place between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania because I feel like it diminishes the goal of defeating 30 guys in a Rumble to win your title match when 5 other dudes are just going to get a title match the next month at this next pay-per-view.
Well, there's never going to be a point where they don't defend the title between the Royal Rumble. Like, people are always going to get title matches between then and now. To me, the only thing I would say is it's a real, because it's either next, so it's right after the Royal Rumble, or it's 2 away, so it's right before Mania. And either one
February, they said,
seems really close to, that seems like it could be its own outlier as far as big pay-per-views go, and they sort of sandwich it in between 2 giant other ones.
Now, the thing is they'll do 1 women's one and 1 men's one, so they probably won't do the Raw title in the Elimination Chamber. They'll probably do the SmackDown one, right? Because we won't get Lesnar in the Elimination Chamber, most likely.
You just killed your own point, dude.
So I know. Well, I just thought about it. Because that's how they do it now. That's how they did it last year. They did 1 women's chamber and 1 men's chamber. They used to do a SmackDown chamber and a Raw chamber, but now they do a women's chamber and a men's chamber. So that's how
it gets used different years, different ways sometimes. This what I think is kind of sad maybe is that we heard all night we'd start the road to WrestleMania now, and over the next 2 months we'll hear over and over again, we're on the road to WrestleMania, and probably tomorrow night they'll start a countdown to WrestleMania. 35 days to WrestleMania.
They're going to start the Hall of Fame stuff now too, right?
Yes, I guess, depending on how.
Tomorrow,
probably announce one tomorrow, the main one or whatever. But WrestleMania has almost outworked itself. WrestleMania is almost by itself now. We usually get a few weeks of build. It's not like it was. It used to be almost like the whole year storylines built to WrestleMania, so we could make WrestleMania huge, and that's kind of like the culmination of all the storylines. Now it's kind of like we throw it together because we know everybody is gonna, not we throw it together. I'm sure they plan I'm sure at the end of last year's WrestleMania they knew what they wanted to do at this year's WrestleMania. But the storylines, a lot of them kind of end up getting thrown together in 3 weeks or less.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they know WrestleMania is going to sell itself.
Yeah.
You don't have to build a huge storyline to sell out an arena because people just want to come be at WrestleMania now.
Right. I mean, they buy those tickets a year in advance.
Right. So it's it's almost like it's outworked itself to where now
nobody buys a WrestleMania ticket for a match.
Right.
Yeah.
They buy a WrestleMania ticket to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of sad. I would much rather go back to live in a world where at least from Rumble to Mania everything is focused on Mania, but it's not. They want to build it. Well, we got to build it to Fastlane. Well, we got to build an Elimination Chamber. Let's get squeeze a couple extra pay-per-views out of them. And
totally. Well, what do we think of the overall pay-per-view?
It was fun.
Yeah, positive, leaning positive. I feel like it's leaning positive.
Yeah, I'd say.
I'm leaning positive. I think
3.5 stars. Is that a good rating?
Sure. Yeah. I think both Rumbles. I felt like last year the men's Rumble was and the women's Rumble was phenomenal. This year I felt both Rumbles were pretty good.
They were both on par.
Yep.
Both cookie cutter, but both good, not bad. Not bad. They were both solid.
They were both strong, and then they had fun.
They both had some moments. They had some good moments. Totally.
The women's one I think finished a lot stronger.
Man, the women are killing it, man.
They're the best.
Ronda and
honestly,
Sasha.
The one moment when Nia came in, I would have been totally happy with her winning that match.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Sasha was
because they could have played it where a woman won the men's rumble and the man won the
man
women's
won the women's rumble.
Man.
And there's nothing to say like the idea is you win the rumble so you get a shot at the title you're choosing. So she could have won the men's rumble and still went after the woman's title.
The other title,
theoretically.
Yeah.
You know, so that could have been really neat.
But it makes
and just a good way to push the women a little bit more.
Yeah, it makes me want to retract something because when we talked about, I don't remember the last pay-per-view we talked about on here, and we were kind of predicting Becky and Ronda to be the main event of WrestleMania then, and I was like, it's kind of sad that they it's less that they've earned it and more that the WWE just doesn't care what order of matches and they're just doing it to put the women on. I totally retract that. I don't care. They deserve to be the main event. They are all killing it this year.
They are. They really are.
To put Becky and Ronda
look at
in
the
that
fan
spot.
reaction,
That's
too.
where they should be.
They've captured the audience. I
Yeah.
mean, like that's the match right now.
Becky Lynch by far was the biggest thing from a crowd perspective at this show.
Right, looking at our possible card for Mania right now, there is only one solid standout, and that's Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, that's like, oh man, this is awesome. We can't wait to watch this kind of a thing.
Yep.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's great, and they earned it. And regardless of like Becky, like aside from Becky and Ronda being super hot and deserving to be in that spot, the same way you hear all the women talk about how awesome it is to finally see an all women's pay-per-view. They deserve to see that feeling at the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, totally.
I want to see that too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So and they've man.
Sweet.
I'm blown away.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited.
I'm blown away. Yeah, so
we are in Mania season now.
And you can celebrate with us by clicking over and checking out our Streak Easy podcast, mini podcast,
That's right, yeah.
where we are reviewing the legendary undefeated streak of the legendary Undertaker.
That's right. We've already posted the first episode, which discusses his first 4 WrestleMania matches. And next week, the week after this podcast goes up, we'll be posting episode 2, which covers his next 3.
The next 3. So go watch WrestleMania 12, Undertaker versus Diesel. WrestleMania 13, main event title match, Undertaker versus Sid Vicious.
Yep.
And WrestleMania 14, The Undertaker meets his brother.
That's gotta be Kane! That's gotta be Kane!
So you will have seen the matches and then come listen to us and we'll tell you what to think about them.
I'm so excited to watch those.
It's a fun podcast.
Awesome. All right, well, it's getting late.
Yep.
So let's,
we are turning this into the WWE pay-per-view of podcasts.
Yes. So
we're still going to come in shorter than last week.
Yeah, probably, actually. But as always, guys, make sure you are checking us out on all the different platforms that we're available on. If you're an audio podcast person, we're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean. Be sure to leave us a rating and a review and all that good stuff. If you're a video person, we are also available on YouTube. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast and hit that subscribe button. And hit the bell notification and comment and like, and all those things that YouTube people tell you all the time. Yeah, do that stuff. That helps us out. And you can find us on Facebook as well. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast, and that way you can keep up to date with everything that we're doing, including all of our new mini episodes. So until next time, I am Pixel Dan.
Jonathan Leonard.
I'm Jerry McCaffrey.
Thank
you for joining us for episode 6.
Episode 6. D. 6D. That's what he meant.
Good night.
John's going to bed.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.